Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to the Red Ring Podcast, episode number 6, as we discuss the aftermath of the NXT Takeover pay-per-view. I have my special guest here, Mike, who's going to join in with me as we break down and discuss the entire pay-per-view and the future that will behold NXT. See you in just a few moments. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you hear the audience in the background, live and in charge, prepared, bringing the cheers in as we see each and every one of us here tonight getting ready and prepared as we've watched one of the greatest pay-per-views again you can attach to the NXT roster. I have my special guest here, Mike, who's happy to tell us all about everything as he will discuss, break down, debate the whole nine about the NXT pay-per-view. Mike, I would like to welcome you to the Red Ring. My enunciations is so off today.
Appreciate it.
You're definitely welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike is one of my fellow individuals. If I explained to you yesterday, if you checked out the podcast, one of my fellow individuals who participates in my interactive universe on WWE 2K18 on Twitch, who just the other day recently lost the PCW World Internet Championship, but I don't doubt Mike has other plans ahead of him. Honestly, you held it to the second defense before you actually lost it. You didn't lose it on the first try. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a live interactive podcast, so you're able to come in. You can join in through the Spreaker app. Spreaker, let me say that clearly. Spreaker app. You can download on iOS or Android, or you can go to Spreaker.com, search for the Red Ring, and you will be able to come in directly there, or you just listen in and just hear a healthy debate if you choose to. Now, if you want to participate and ask any questions, if you are listening, all you have to do, instead of typing in chat, if you don't want to do that, you can always tweet us at the Red Ring Pod on Twitter. Yes, TheRedringPod. And you will be able to just send out tweets. I'll be able to see those, capture those, and be able to address your concerns or any responses or opinions that may be clear enough for us to present on the cast. But let's go ahead and get right on into it. How many stars you giving this, Mike? Let's just go ahead and get it out the way.
Overall?
Yes.
Overall, I'll give it about it's got a, no pay-per-view is ever perfect, so I'm going to have to give it a 4 or 5, 4.5, 4.5 stars.
4.5 stars. Okay. Most people, they're a little technical. They'll round it up to a 5 and say, oh, he gave it a 5. But he literally said 4.5. Y'all heard it. 4.5. I will go just a little. I'll probably, you know what? I'm not even going to go a little bit higher. I'm going to match that. 4.5. Only for the simple fact I'm going to say 4.5 because if you heard all of my predictions on yesterday, as I stated clearly, I kind of pretty much told you how this was going to play. Now, exact ending, well, some were exact endings, but totally, I told you exactly how this was going to play out. So let's start with the very first match of the night as it played out on Takeover. Literally, as a lot of people has already deemed it, as you can hear Mike in the back, has deemed it match of the night. It was Mustache Mountain versus the Undisputed Era for the NXT World Tag Team Championships. Amazing. Clearly.
Oh, man. There are no words to even describe how ridiculously amazing that match was.
Now, I have to highlight the former UK champion, or now I'm going to have to go ahead and say this, the former NXT UK champion, Tyler Bate, showing off some impressive strength. That is a fine young specimen of an athlete. That man,
future face of the company, in my opinion.
Believe it. He picked up Kyle O'Reilly one arm, like he was deadlifting some weights at the gym, picked him up with one arm, ran across the ring with him on this arm, and ran into Roddy Backbreaker. Y'all know that's my nickname for Roderick Strong, Roddy Backbreaker. I'm just like, did he really just pick this man up with one arm? Like he deadlifted him? I'm like, how much is he lifting in the gym? But that wasn't the only highlight. Just looking at the overall tag team match, it was amazing. My prediction yesterday that the Undisputed Era was walking out of there with the tag team championships. Now, I did throw in the wrench that it would be good to see Mustache Mountain win, but I knew the Undisputed Era was going to walk out with those tag team championships, only in the case that, they proceed on and gotta find a way to reunite that tag team division all over again. And as we saw at the end of the match with the War Raiders coming out there and utterly destroying Kyle O'Reilly and Roddy Backbreaker at the end of the match.
That was amazing. Those guys are
sorry.
No, I almost messed up and called them War Machine again.
That's who they are.
Oh, I know. One thing I will say about Mustache Mountain, and was it just me or did Trent Seven look a little bit out of shape tonight?
He looked a little heavy.
When he was in the UK tournament last year, he looked a lot more fit than he was tonight.
Yeah.
It didn't take away from his performance. He's still an amazing athlete. It's just he looked a little bit fluffy compared to what he has been.
Looked like he had a few UK breakfasts, one too many, before he came down for the. Oh, one too many of those probably as well. But he looked it a little bit more out of shape and overweight than he normally looked, and I was just like, wait a minute, why does he look like he? I had the question for a second. I was just looking at the screen. I was like, am I seeing this correctly? Is he just tired, breathing hard or something? Got a little gas on the stomach? Or I don't know. So it's just kind of one of those things. I was just kind of a little lost there for a second. So I didn't know what was going on, but he was out of shape.
But there was a perfect match to open up pay-per-view. Nice, fast pace, bunch of good spots, kept the crowd in it. Exactly what you and there were almost no breaks. Like exactly what you want out of your opening match. There weren't many times where they went out on the outside and just kind of walked around. It was a brawl.
Oh yeah,
from start to finish.
Well, I mean, looking at the highlights from the pre-show of Takeover, looking at Trent Seven from 2 months ago when they won the NXT Tag Team Championships in UK, and then subsequently losing the titles last month. I'm looking at it and it's just like I see that the weight increased. So I mean, it could be a medical condition, could be food, could be not working out, but it does look like the weight has like increased over time, not just in a whole slump, just everything all at once.
Yeah, it might have to do a little bit. I got a little nagging injury where you can't really work out as much right now.
Right. I mean, who knows?
But again, it doesn't did not take away anything from his in-ring performance at all. So it's not an issue. It's just one of those little things that stuck out in my mind.
Right. Well, let me ask you this question: with the life that has been brought into NXT now, with the new expansion into the UK with NXT UK, do you think that Mustache Mountain should have won the tag team championships in order to not only breathe life into the tag team division here in NXT USA, but to, I guess, breathe life into their tag team division in the UK? Or do you feel like the decision that was made tonight, as far as the Undisputed Era retaining the championships, was the better decision?
I think the right decision was made tonight because, I mean, they're wanting to make NXT UK its own division. It's going to have its own championship. It's going to have its own women's championship and eventually its own tag team championship. So why have both NXT USA and NXT UK's championships on the same show?
I mean, that's agreed, but they could have relinquished the tag team championships, at the show, or, had them both subsequently, if you want to per se put it that way, subsequently had both at the time to then, either lose the NXT USA championships to then, be not really handed, but awarded the NXT UK tag team championships. But I feel like in the same sense, it could go that way. But knowing NXT, knowing the man behind NXT, they're going to fight probably tournament wise, little by little, to crown each champion. I don't see an intermediate title being added into the UK up front. I see it just being how NXT was at first, it being, the NXT championship, then the tag, and then the women.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think this rivalry is over by a long shot anyway. So, I mean, it was, how do I put it? It was the right call tonight. I'm sure they'll fight again. So, I mean,
truth be told, I feel like the rivalry is still ongoing. I don't think it's over, but it could be. Now, the only reason why I say I don't think it's over, for the simple fact, is because we do have Mustache Mountain as the established UK tag team going forward. That could lead into headway of another team going in. Now, that could lead into a lot of different things. We'll get back to the matches, but just going on small, right turn real quick. Looking at NXT UK, looking at the stars that we have in NXT already and on the main roster and 205 Live with Noam Dar and a few others. I can't remember the young lady's name. She's spunky with the ponytails in NXT, came from the Mae Young Classic last year. I can't remember her name.
Tony Storm?
Not Tony. It's another young lady.
Okay. How do you not know who Tony Storm is?
I know who Tony is.
We're about to start fighting.
No, not Tony. It's another young lady. She fought Shayna Baszler I can't think of her name. Oh
Last
my
year,
lord.
yeah, it had been last year. Well, they wasn't in it this year.
Mm,
The only other one that I can think of that I know for a fact is going to be in UK is Tegan Knox.
who?
Tegan Knox. She's in this year's Mae Young. She was supposed to be in Mae Young Classic last year, but she suffered an ACL injury right before.
Right, not her. It's another young lady. Now this young lady, I can't think of her name. She will the promo video they showed during NXT Takeover showed quite a few individuals who either been in NXT, who are currently in NXT, who are on 205 Live, or has been seen in the UK tournament. Now, with Noam Dar reappearing while they were overseas, he's into the promo shots as well, because they filmed a few tapings already of NXT UK, which will premiere here, I'm assuming, pretty soon or before the end of the year, if not at the beginning of the year. I feel like in this sense, this is another outlet for those who are probably not specifically wanting to be over here all the time, but to give them an opportune time to shine over there, making it easier for them to still grow up under the NXT brand or however, but still being able to, eventually move to the main roster. Or to 205 Live or the Raw or SmackDown, however it may be. But this gives a lot. I think this somewhat assists with cutting the cost for WWE as a whole, because like far as like getting flights and whatnot for a lot of the people who are not stationary here in the United States that come from overseas, it makes it easier for them to transport them to a closer location. Like the Mighty, I don't know if they've moved here into the United States, but I know they're from Australia. It would be good for them to probably leave here and go to NXT UK. But considering the fact that they've kind of somewhat established themselves as TM61 now, have moved over into, the Mighty, I think they will probably most likely stay here. I just think it gives a little bit of breathing room between NXT, considering the fact how many individuals they have down in the Performance Center. But this helps them out by, some of the ones that have come from overseas to actually send them over there or bring them over here, being able to allow for more, how can I say it, more training, more development, easier time to be able to look and progress the new stars that may come up. Because, with the main roster, with the way it's looking right now, it's either time to retire some people, move some people around, or really push the limit with creativity. Because right now,
it's stale. There's nothing else. It's stale. Hey. But going back to your statement about NXT UK and developing people over there, I'll tell you the perfect person to put in charge of a performance center in the UK.
Who?
Sheamus. He's getting ready to retire, forced into retirement with his spinal stenosis.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Another person that would be good to send over there too, even though he still has quite a bit in the tank to continue to do. Cesaro. I would send both the bar, depending on what Cesaro wants to do. I would send the bar as a whole over to NXT UK and treat them as trainers and also background agents in order to assist with the UK. But with the UK having established brands over there like Progress and the other brands that are over there, I don't think they will more so need it, but it will be beneficial if you had somebody here from here that would be able to go over there and assist, because like they have Shawn Michaels and a few others down at the performance, and I know Lance Storm had just recently tweeted out and said that he was going down there for a week to assist. And I think it would be good when you have people like Sheamus, who is needing to retire due to a medical condition per se, and Sheamus has done a lot. Let's not stay clear and say that Sheamus hasn't done anything. Oh, it'd be good for him to go. No, Sheamus has done a whole lot since he's appeared. Yeah. So I mean, becoming world champ,
and he was
WWE champion.
Not only that, but he could develop great monster heels. I mean, that's what he was when he first came in. He's one of the very few monster heels that could actually talk on mic.
Oh yeah,
immediately he was able to do it.
But that gives him so much more as well, because like he can get in the ring and train, but he doesn't really have to put that much
strain on his body.
Right. He doesn't have to put that much strain on his body doing it, because he can go out there and assist and teach him the different moves, show him the different ways they need to do it, get in the ring with them and work a little bit, not really having to do it full time, actually doing a whole match with them, but at least giving them the pointers and direction that they need in order to get them into the right direction. Because if we're gonna need more monster heels, which we kind of do at this point, because we're kind of lacking,
especially them turning out Braun face.
Braun, I can't consider Braun neither a face or a heel. Braun, to me, is that anti, and I honestly consider Braun that anti because he's good at either way. He's still that destructive monster, no matter if he's a good guy or a bad guy. And it's just like when you see Braun, I'm running. Braun could be like all smiles, like, "Hi, my name is Braun Strowman." Nah, bruh, I don't trust you. Like, that smile could be turned upside down and 2.5, and I'm just like, nope, it's time to go. I'm gonna be like the little dude holding a cake, just sitting there, just silent, gripping the hell out of that cake pan, and I'm just like, move, don't breathe, don't even move an inch, don't even let one of your hairs touch him. You. Right. It's like
T-Rex. You don't move, he can't see you.
Right, or just stand to the side. He can't see me. He can't see me. He can't see me if I'm standing face on. He can see me if I'm standing to the side. He can't see me. But yeah, they need it because I mean, Kane is now the mayor of Knox County here in Tennessee.
All hell, more Emperor Kane.
Right. We have the Undertaker, who is, I mean, technically retired. I mean, he could come back if he chooses to, but most of us have looked at this point.
He's coming back for the SmackDown 1000.
Yeah, I mean, he's an integral part of SmackDown at that time. I would honestly say at this point, Undertaker can do what he chooses to because he can, because it's who he is. But I would prefer that he doesn't entertain wrestling any more matches. Get in shape, enjoy your wife, your kids, and be happy. I don't see him wrestling anymore. Period. I just don't.
He'd be a great addition to the Performance Center as well.
Yes, if he wanted
either Performance Center, either one.
I don't see him going overseas. Truth be told,
I don't either. I'm just saying, but either one would. I could see him doing stints overseas with them. A couple weeks here, a couple weeks there.
Oh yeah, that'll do. But full time overseas, nobody. That definitely not gonna happen. Especially now with the wife and kid, and being gone that long. No, that's not gonna happen. But not to say that there still is a big man that hasn't been here, who's in tremendous shape. The Big Show, who's been working out, is wanting to get back into the ring. Now this would be good to see Big Show back in the ring, but at this point, it's just kind of like, what will we see you do? How will we reintegrate you back into the roster?
Big Show and R-Truth, one final tag team run.
Oh my God.
The Big Truth. The Big Truth.
That would be interesting. I would love to see the Big Show back in. I know he's now the global brand ambassador for the Special Olympics for WWE. But I don't know. To see the Big Show back in the ring, I mean, it's good. He's lost a lot of weight. He looks tremendous. I don't know. That's just one thing I can't pinpoint that one. I just don't know.
But yeah, the roster is way too big. They need to cut dead weight on a lot of characters.
Yeah, I was going to try to sugarcoat it a little bit.
As bad as it sounds, but they've got to cut dead weight. There's so much dead weight on the roster right now in both divisions, to be honest. You got. Well, what are they going to do? What are they doing with Dana Brooke other than just making her a joke with Titus Worldwide?
I don't know, and Dana can wrestle her butt off. I mean, Tamita's out on injury again. Lana every once in a while is wrestling. Zelina Vega can wrestle herself, but she only wrestles if need be. And it's just kind of like, oh god, like some people like Lana and Zelina, you don't really have to worry about it. You can just make them just permanent managers, and they don't ever have to wrestle again. But the rest of them is a different story.
I agree with you on Lana. I do, because well, she's not good in the ring at all. She's had how long to work on it, and she's still not good. It's just bad. But Zelina, on the other hand, she can wrestle. I mean, if you don't know this, but she used to be she's Thea Trinidad.
Oh yeah, I don't know who she is.
No, I'm not talking to you in particular. I'm talking about anybody listening. If they didn't know that, that's who she is. She is Thea Trinidad.
She was trained by Google that. Check your history.
She was trained by the great Austin Aries.
Yeah, I remember a recent tweet of coming out about those two dating of some sort.
They used to.
She had silenced the people about the whole situation. I was just like, oh Lord, why y'all antagonizing?
Yeah, they used to. I think they were engaged at one point, but that's neither here nor there.
No, it's not.
But then you got people like, as bad as it sounds, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, and Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan all getting called up way too soon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, don't forget Ruby.
Well, I mean, Ruby, I don't think Ruby was called up too soon.
I think they should have
kept. I think they should have kept her down there, because she could have been a great possible women's NXT Women's Champion.
Oh yeah, I mean, she would have been a tremendous asset at this point up against Shayna Baszler, because Shayna and Ruby would have been an interesting fight.
But to be honest, I think the better fight would have been, and it would have to be down the road, because neither one of them are ready to be champion, in my opinion, including Shayna Baszler. It would be Sonya Deville versus Shayna Baszler.
Oh, now that would be great. That would be a great match. I would love to see that, because Sonya can go, and to see her battle it out with Shayna would be a great show.
And here's my thing. Going back to what we were talking about, the Four Horsewomen.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that angers me the most about this is they book these UFC women like they're gods, but the only one that was any good in UFC was Ronda. If you look at the other ones, their records, they had losing records in UFC. They were called the Four Horsewomen because they were the four that really got women's UFC on the map.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't great, and if you look at it, once Ronda Rousey finally lost, guess what? She cried and took her ball and went home.
Yeah, that's that's one of those conversations for another day. But we could talk about that all day.
If they really truly want the baddest woman on the planet, go get Holly Holm.
Lord Jesus, Holly Holm in WWE. I think that would scare some people. That would truly scare some people.
Ronda would probably quit again.
I don't think she would. I think she would. She would go after it as if she's, ready to go. But considering the fact that the other horsewomen are currently being trained at this current time to wrestle, I know.
It just angers me about that whole situation. How they're booking these UFC girls to be so great, but they're really not. And don't get me wrong, they're great athletes.
Mm-hmm.
But how many people have truly succeeded in the transition from WWE to UFC and vice versa? Brock and Riddle.
Nope. You have to go. You have to go back further than that.
And actually, Ken Shamrock.
You have to. You forgot one more. You got Dan Severn. So you got Dan Severn, Ken Shamrock.
Yeah.
Brock did it. Brock did it the opposite direction.
No, I said vice versa, but well, he did it. WWE, UFC, then UFC to WWE, and now back to UFC.
We'll see how this plays out. Far as him going back, I pray tomorrow is not a destructive manner for the main roster brand and for Roman Reigns. But we'll discuss that further. We got to get back to NXT because we've pretty much.
I'm watching the replay of the thing now, and I just finished the tag match. And I was going to say, a guy as big as Tyler Bate should not be able to move the way he does.
But I don't think Tyler is really that big. I mean, you look at Tyler. Tyler's short, but he's a very agile.
He's stocky. I'm talking about his body mass should not be able to do some of the stuff it does.
Oh.
Like, it just makes no sense.
I mean,
he's just a freak. He's a freak athlete. Simple as that.
I mean, freak in a good way or freak in a bad way?
Oh, he's a freak athlete. It's a good thing.
But you just
his body does things that should not happen. Yeah, he just. I mean, you always hear that about great up-and-coming players in all sports. They're freaks because they do things that just most humans cannot do, and he's one of them. He's just like you're talking about when he. I mean, early in the match, he had, I want to say it was O'Reilly on his back, had him in a sleeper, and then he was doing the Cesaro swing with Roddy Strong.
Right. I saw that. I was just like, yo, that's strength for you right there. I mean, ain't nothing you can really do about it.
But that match, I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, it was bad for anybody who had to follow it.
Yeah, there's nothing really we can do about that. It was kind of one of those situations. It was kind of, you just kind of had to suffer with the situation that, you know, you kind of got done in.
Because at that point, the crowd was so tired and not really tired. I mean, like, nothing you did, no spot you did after that match was going to be able to get it going again.
No.
Like it was.
No, it wouldn't. But after we'll move forward because we could talk about that tag team match this entire show, but we won't.
But that match gets 5 stars. That was a 5-star match,
flat out. The next match on the list was EC3 versus Velveteen Dream. Iconic parts of this match had nothing to do with them wrestling. It was the look of Velveteen. When Velveteen came out, I'm looking for it's just kind of one of those things you look for when you see Velveteen. You're looking for a specific attire. You're looking to see what he's going to wear. This time he had on the look. It was right. I like the pants, like the whole look. But then you see the pants and what's written on them. Like, clearly on the back, they didn't acknowledge it until later in the match. But on the back of his pants literally said, "Vince, call me up." I was like, is that what I think it says on the back of his pants? And he turned around. I was like, yup, that's what it says. So I was like, what do you think? Do you think that's Velveteen bragging that he's ready to go from NXT? Or do you think that's, you know, an opportunity for, you know, the higher ups on the main roster to take a look and see, you know, the next big thing, the next best star to bring to the main roster? What do you think the purpose was behind that message?
I think the thought process behind it was, one, Dream thinks he's ready, and I think he's almost there. He's not there yet, in my opinion. He's going to be a future star. no doubt about it. But I just don't see him ready just yet. He still has a little bit of work. His promos are fantastic. His in-ring work is fantastic. But there's just one, and I alluded to this earlier in a conversation with you. I just don't think WWE in its current state is ready for Dream.
No.
Right now, with it being so stale, yes, he could put a fire in it, but with Vince still in charge, he would be wasted.
He would, and I don't
with his gimmick with Vince in charge would be treated as a joke, a lot like Goldust, who is a great wrestler.
Yes. Now the biggest issue with Dream going to the main roster, as I said yesterday during the podcast, my biggest thing is he would get lost, and there's no creativity into what can be done on the main roster for our storyline.
Where do you put him?
Where? Honestly, he can't go to Raw. Truth be told,
I'm talking about in the grand scheme of things, like picture wise, like title picture, or who's he going to feud with? There's just so much going on right now. There's literally too much going on in WWE on the main roster right now for a guy like Dream, who needs a big time feud to get him to go straight over on the main roster. Yes, because we've seen people super over on NXT get called up and fail. Bobby Roode comes to mind.
Man.
Shinsuke comes to mind. Joe comes to mind.
Well, here's the thing. I can't really say they've been.
Bo Dallas is the biggest issue. Is the biggest one who was super over in NXT and was a flop on the main roster because Vince doesn't know how to use them.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think a lot of them. They didn't get duffel bags. They didn't get body bags. They got duffel bags. I will say that much. Now I'll explain my terminology on that one. Bo got body bagged, clearly. So did Tyler Breeze. Two individuals who were shining lights down in NXT came to the roster, and you got Tyler Breeze and Fandango together, which is still a great tag team. People still love them to death. And
very underrated in my opinion.
Right, and then you got Bo Dallas on the come up now with him and Curtis Axel, who we're not going to talk about that boy. With the B team situation and them being tag team champions, and then you're looking at like people like Shinsuke and Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe and Finn Balor, Sammy, and then Apollo Crews, and I'm just looking at quite a few of them, and I'm just kind of like, what the happened? And it's like you look at them, and then you have to think about it. As long as Vince is running creative, there is not much really none of them really can do. And it's like I see Shinsuke having his time now, transitioning into this heelish format that's actually working and revitalizing what's going on.
That's what he was in Japan. He was a straight heel in Japan, and it worked.
And it does work, and it's taking time, but it's really proven fact what works for Shinsuke. But it also, we haven't really had much time to really breathe life into Samoa Joe, because they really look at Samoa Joe and really don't know how to place him, but you can't really place him. As you can see, based upon his promos, the way he battled, the way he brawls, he's good. He can develop on his own. You can put him in a promo. You can put him in a rivalry with anyone, and it would fly, because he will be able to dramatically push them, just like the Velveteen Dream does, dramatically pushes his opponent to really breathe life and to really go after making the match something amazing. And it's like, that's the one thing I love about Dream. He'll be able to be put against anybody and really make it pop. But then again, you have to remember, you get on the main roster, if they put him with somebody who already pops, it's gonna pop even harder. And it's just like, you see a few people, like I would prefer him to go after the Intercontinental Championship, truthfully, because I think it would work out best. But to see him battle it out with anybody, I think if I had to throw him into a situation right out the gate to brawl it out with anyone, I would put him against Dolph Ziggler, because that would be an amazing rivalry, because I know Dolph can talk, just as well as he can wrestle, just the same way as Velveteen Dream can wrestle and talk as well. But I know Dream would probably, in a sense, eat Dolph alive, and most people would be like, no, he wouldn't. With the Dream and the way he played mind games, he would eat Dolph alive through that entire thing, and it would really spark it, because then that would breathe life back into Dolph again. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you breathe life into other wrestlers like this.
This is my issue with that idea. How many NXT call-ups has Dolph had to put over already? I mean, that you know what I mean? Like, it gets old. Oh, you get called up, you get feud with Dolph Ziggler. I mean, it happened with Bobby Roode, happened with Shinsuke.
But you have to look at the people that were put against Dolph. It doesn't dramatically, they don't really do much of anything. Him and Shinsuke, oh my God, that was such a waste of time. Him and Bobby could have went the right way if it was written correctly. But him and Velveteen Dream would be amazing. There's a few other people I can see that would, if written right, it would work out. Him versus Andrade Cien Almas would be a great match as well.
But you put too much. You're giving WWE creative right now way too much credit. Well, when was the last time they wrote a feud right?
I mean, that's very much true.
AJ versus Shinsuke could have been one of the greatest feuds we've seen in a very long time, and they ruined it because they wanted AJ to keep the title because he was the cover guy for 2K19.
Well, I don't know, because they don't. Well, yeah, they probably determined the cover guy pretty early. It just
I kind of looked to hold the title when they announced, so that's why he went over at Extreme Rules when it was supposed to be Shinsuke.
Right.
The original plan was Shinsuke to get that belt. I mean, because what was the point of having Shinsuke win the Royal Rumble now? And since when? And when was? I thought the Royal. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but the Royal Rumble winner, aren't you supposed to get a main event at WrestleMania, not just a WrestleMania title match?
But here's the thing. Here's the thing before we get into that, because it's too many variables in this equation we bring it up. You have to remember, we're talking about Vince McMahon and the main roster. His big thing is to push whoever the face of the company is, which means they're going to have the main event. And looking at how this stands, I'm looking at the main event, which ended up being Roman Reigns and Brock, and I'm just sitting here like, it makes my skull.
That was a solid match. I liked that match. It was a good match.
It was a solid match, but here's the problem.
It was fun to see. It was fun to see act almost. The amount of blow was almost Attitude Era, and it made me kind of happy.
That's a good aspect, but you have to realize how many people in a guttural sense of it, in their gut feeling, mind, body, and spirit, are tired of hearing the two words Brock and Roman in the same sentence. And hearing them in the same sentence, it kind of like...
It's an old played out scenario, and to be honest, it shouldn't have been Brock in that match. It should have... If you wanted somebody... I mean, Roman has not beat Brock yet. And wasn't the purpose initially of Bobby Lashley to be the Brock killer?
True. I mean,
but
that's what they want to put out there.
That Sami Zayn feud was so bad that they're punishing him for their failure.
It makes me question a lot altogether, period, because looking at everything that's going on between the roster, like, you see all of these holes. There's like holes everywhere. There's holes all over. And you're looking at the main roster and trying to understand how it plays itself out. You get stuck in a situation of looking at, where are these people being placed? Why is this person here? Why are we still having this feud? Why is this person feuding with this person? And you really don't know what to do. And you see then these same people transition to SmackDown or from SmackDown, and you see the storylines that they're in on SmackDown, and they work out a whole lot better. But you have to remember also that in the background, the people working in the background in SmackDown are some of the people who also work down in NXT. So it's just not a complete wash over there on SmackDown, even though some of the matches over there are still
yes, bad.
And it's like the biggest thing, truth be told, with WWE's problem on the main roster right now is storyline. And it's just, they don't know what to do.
It went downhill. It went downhill when they fired Jimmy Jacobs.
When who?
They fired Jimmy Jacobs. When Jimmy Jacobs went and took the picture with the Young Bucks, and they fired him afterwards, or released him.
Truth be told, here's the thing. Everything, I don't even think it went downhill there. It was downhill already from the jump, even with Jimmy there, because the storylines keep changing.
I disagree.
It's never been a
Jimmy is a great mind. I mean, Jimmy Jacobs is the one who came up with the list of Jericho. Yeah. That's all you need to know about how good of a writer Jimmy Jacobs is and how good of a talent he really is.
And I give Jimmy his props. I do give him that. But we're talking about the WWE machine, not one person. The entire WWE machine as a whole, their storylines are shit. Everything you can put out there as a fan is 10 times almost better than what WWE could write on a given day in 5 minutes. And if you're looking at the aspect of not even complicitly making dream matches from fans constantly, it's a simple fact of rewriting what is already out there or replacing people in storylines to make something better.
It's very repetitive. It's very repetitive at this point, and it's sad.
It's beyond sad because you look at this aspect of how far we've gotten Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman won the greatest Royal Rumble.
Don't get me started.
And he won Money in the Bank, and he's done everything that he needed to do.
He's going to lose a briefcase tomorrow.
I don't think he's going to lose the briefcase tomorrow, but we're not going to headway into SummerSlam. We still on NXT, but we not. The whole thing with Braun is too much. They won't pull the trigger on Braun. They didn't pull the trigger on him. They didn't pull the trigger on Samoa Joe, either one of them, because they literally, utterly destroyed fucking Brock. Excuse my language. They destroyed Brock individually and together in a match, and it clearly showed that either one of them could carry that match without Brock, carry Brock throughout that match, and they still want to hold this championship across the shoulder of Brock because they want Roman to be the face. You can't give Roman that pinnacle. It's not working. In order for you to give Roman that pinnacle, like I pointed out, two biggest flaws with Roman right now is not it's his image.
It's not his fault. It's really not his fault.
It's not his fault, but here's the thing.
He's really good. He is good. Don't get me wrong. He's great. But it's the fact that he's being pushed down everybody's throat that everybody's so tired of.
But it's but you have to remember, there's still other aspects of Roman that still make you think that Roman is not good enough. Roman needs new music. Roman needs a complete makeover far as his image and what he wrestles in. All of that all together culminates into why we can't stand Roman now.
Now that you say that, it actually makes me think of something. He's like the high school jock who was great in high school, but just never really did anything else, who is so proud of that and still lives that life. I mean, look at it. He still has the Shield music outside of the initial little Shield's spelling. He still wears a flak jacket.
I mean, he still wears the same attire. It's just his flak jacket is custom made at this point. It's
exactly.
That's the whole thing. Like, I'm losing with the aspect of saying that anybody from the NXT roster is going to get lost. And now, truth be told, if anybody from NXT comes up, I would say take a small mix of people from Monday night. I would say if you was to redraw the lines of SmackDown and Raw, I would send selected people from Raw over to SmackDown. It'd be a small group of them, but all call-ups from NXT would go straight to SmackDown. Only for the simple fact is I would send them to SmackDown is to give them the opportune time to grow and to get acclimated to the main roster situation before tossing them over to Monday Night Raw, because that's where the problem you ended up with. What is some guy's name? I can't think of the tag team they brought up that was very destructive in NXT. No, not
Authors of Pain?
Not the Authors of Pain. It's another one. They were with Cody Rhodes before he lit. No, not the Revival.
The Revival? No.
No.
I'm trying to think.
They've been on, what is it, the Fashion Files with Tyler Breeze and Fandango.
Ascension.
Yeah, Ascension. Yes, they destroyed the Ascension when they came up. Completely and utterly destroyed them when they came up. And it's shown countless times over and over and over again. And I can't really say people like Samoa Joe or Shinsuke or those people really had a hard time getting acclimated to the main roster because they came from overseas or the Indies. Like, it gave them time to, like, grow into what the WWE machine is. But overall, there's just storyline writing is what's holding them back. And you look at how we looking at Roman now. Roman he's being foddered, fed, and bred to be the one, the next face, the one to take John Cena's spot. You can't grow that. You can't breathe that. You can't push.
You know why, right?
And it's
know why? And here's exactly why they're doing it that way with Roman is because he's homegrown.
I mean,
but if you really want a homegrown or a true homegrown champion, so is Braun. So is EC3. Yes, EC3 was released and went over to Impact, but he started his career and was trained by FCW.
I mean,
a lot of people forget that.
Drew McIntyre as well. I mean, there's quite a few of them you could say the same thing, but even in the same
sense, your idea
like,
about
we didn't make John Cena. We made John Cena as fans and pushed and enjoyed
Cena
the gimmicks that he
was on the verge of being released until the fans. Same thing with Daniel Bryan, but Daniel Bryan wasn't homegrown. But you get the idea. But going back to your idea about call-ups going straight to SmackDown, it reminds me of something. After the first shakeup, when SmackDown pretty much got raided of all talent and got sent scraps for it, AJ Styles said one thing, and it was the God's honest truth, and it still stands. SmackDown makes them, Raw takes them.
I believe that, and the only reason why I believe that, but I don't believe that in some characters because they just took them anyway. Like, The Miz should have never went back to Raw. Should have never went back to Raw.
He wasn't referring to them. I think he was more referring to the new people that were called straight up from NXT and then taken from SmackDown to go to Raw because, well, guess what? They were over, like Alexa Bliss, who, in my opinion, is overpushed.
I mean,
but I love Bliss. I love her. She's awesome. She's great. She's a great athlete. A lot of people don't think this because her matches aren't great. But here's the thing. She is a coward heel. Her matches don't have to be great right now. Everybody's like, oh, well, she hasn't improved in her in-ring work because she doesn't have to. But if she does, when she does have to, she has the athletic background to be able to do it. She's a former bodybuilder. She's a former gymnast. It's not going to be a hard transition. Everybody's like, oh, she doesn't take bumps. Most of the women her size don't either. The only one that really does take bumps that are her size is Sasha. And we see her injury issues. It's a smart move not to take big bumps at that size.
I mean, I agree with that, but also look at the aspect of, Raw is being 3 hours. They need more people.
It's just too long. Too long.
It's not only is it too long. There's too many faults with Raw in the main machine. Not even SmackDown. The main machine that is the WWE machine, and we're talking about Monday Night Raw. We're talking about just those two aspects. Those two aspects are the cornerstone of WWE. If that cogwheel was changed out to a new one, I think it would go a lot smoother and a lot better. And if you
I think needs to happen, and this is what I think needs to happen, right? I agree with you, and this is why. It's not an issue of writing. It's not an issue of anything like that. Everybody's like, oh, the ratings we don't watch because blah, 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 or the ratings or the writing sucks. It's the same match over and over. And I agree with that. But here's the real issue. WWE has too much weekly programming. 7 hours of wrestling a week is a ton.
Very much.
I think Raw, if you want to keep Raw a 3-hour show, cool. That's great. but make it an all men's division and make SmackDown the 2-hour show all women.
That would never play. I can tell you right now that would never play because SmackDown has established itself as the
well, not only that, but SmackDown's about to become the A show.
I mean, SmackDown in most people's mindset is
most people's mind is the A show. But you know what I mean? I'm talking about in the eyes of WWE, it's about to become the A show because it's going on network television.
Well, I mean, it's been on network television before, but like I said, here's the problem with the entire aspect and the whole machine as a whole. If you're looking at how it plays itself out across the board, you have to look at how they draw the storylines, how they play them out, how they agree with everything, how they let stuff flow naturally instead of trying to force something out, because they let stuff flow naturally with John Cena and let the fans get behind him and let it grow. And then they had to really take back and look, and it was like, all right, maybe he's actually going somewhere with this, and it grew. And the storylines and people, it was easy enough to pick up and go, but you also had to look at the aspects of how it eventually grew into what it is now, because if they didn't let that happen, we wouldn't have John Cena. And they're trying to recreate John Cena over and over and over again, but I'm just sitting here looking at the aspect. You can't recreate John Cena over and over and over again without letting the fans have way with who they see is right or wrong. If you want to put somebody out there and say, okay, we're going to make XYZ, a good guy, okay, that's fine. Then let the fans help carry you. Let the fans help carry and push this person. Give this person enough time to evolve this character. If this person doesn't like this character, go back to the drawing board and listen to them and let them motivate and correct and do the things needed to do in order to make these characters be what you want them to be. Otherwise, you're just wasting time. Like right now, you're wasting so much time with Roman Reigns. It's unreal.
Oh, I agree. Here's another thing that everybody whines about, and I agree with it wholeheartedly, especially growing up in the Attitude Era and whatnot, is the fact that the promos are all scripted instead of just saying, okay, here are the points we want you to hit, you go do it.
I mean,
where you got guys out there trying to memorize lines and they flub over the lines because they had to memorize them 3 minutes before they went out.
I mean, and that's the
instead
thing,
of just saying, here's the points.
Like
hit them.
If they went back to that, which is how they've always grown into delivering promos anyway, it makes things more natural. It lets the personalities grow. It lets them move into the image of the character, whoever it is, whether it be the Beast, the Monster, the Undead King, and the Big Red Machine, or the Rapper, whatever you want to call them, whoever the character is. Well, let you motivate that character and grow and wrap the words around who the character is. Because if you can put personality into the words while delivering that promo, we can then understand and grow and to naturally like or dislike this character even more than we did the first time, instead of us being like, I really don't like this character, when we really haven't given it time because we're just tired of seeing this individual person on our screen.
To be fair, The Undertaker and Kane were not built by their promos. They were built by Paul Bearer.
I mean, though they were built by Paul Bearer, but it's just a natural example.
In promo, I mean promos. I mean, I'm not talking about in-ring work, but promo-wise, it was built by Paul Bearer. Paul Bearer laid everything out for those guys.
I don't blame you there. I mean, hell, Kane's been around for years. So is The Undertaker, but
both of them can cut promos, but I'm just saying, I was just saying they didn't build them based off of promos. They built it on in-ring work, and yes, the promos did help build them, but that was Paul Bearer in the foundation years.
True.
I mean, there would be no Undertaker without a Paul Bearer.
No,
there would be no Kane without a Paul Bearer. Rest in peace, Paul.
Right. But we've ran too far off this tangent, even though we were talking about EC3 and Dream.
But yeah, going back to that EC3 Dream match, I mean, it was good, but once again, I couldn't stay interested in the match through talking to people about it in a chat, and having to follow that tag team match. I mean, it was a great match. It was a solid match. I'd give it 3 stars because it really didn't have any moments that really caught me and made me want to watch. And they need to do something about EC3's music. That is horrible.
Very.
It's the same words on a 20-second loop.
I mean,
the CFOs have to GTFO.
His theme, I like his image, I like his persona, the attitude. The theme music is a little off. It's a little lackluster for the type of person that EC3 is becoming or is attempting to portray. But overall, I mean, the one thing I have to now look at, because when it comes down to Takeover, I can see a match literally taking over the entire show, just like we had the tag team match take over the entire show, and you have anything that follows up behind it really has to put on a show. And I look at it as being that they laid it out correctly in how it would go, because if they would have threw that tag team match anywhere else but at the beginning, it would have taken over the show truly, and we would have never gotten what we got, and people would have needed time to grow back into what they needed to when it came down to Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT Championship. Because if they would have placed that match closer to that match, them people would have been bumfuck tired trying to assume enough energy to be ready for that match.
Oh yeah, I know. And like I said, it's no fault of Dream and EC3 on that aspect. They put on a good match. It was just the fact that they had to follow up match of the night that opened up the show.
True.
I mean, I was talking to friends in a chat and we're talking about it. And I said during the first match, during the tag match, I said, this is like watching the Usos versus the New Day, who can put on a great match anytime, but times 5,000. It was that good in my eyes. But going back to Dream for 1 second, you know who would be a great mouthpiece for him, and he doesn't need one.
Who?
But just the way he dresses and his persona, Hollywood Hogan. It would help clear up his image. Dream. It would help.
Oh hell no!
Improve his dream, his image.
That's it. That's setting off a literal nah. I can tell you right now that would air the.
I mean, it won't happen. I can see it. In a perfect world, before Hogan went retard, it would work.
In a perfect world, yes, but we're never gonna get in a perfect world. And if that would have came out, it still would have been one of those situations where, like, okay, now what do we do with Dream? Because it's like, okay, that was his mouthpiece. But I still don't think Dream doesn't need a mouthpiece. He doesn't, and it is point proven. Regardless if he wins or loses at Takeover on NXT on Wednesday nights. He point proves that he does not need a mouthpiece. He is his own mouthpiece. If somebody was out there to manage him, a different story. But they don't need to talk for him because he can talk for himself.
Fair enough. That's what I was. I didn't mean mouthpiece. I didn't mean talking for him. And that was poor vocabulary on my end. I meant like a manager like that. Like him and Hogan would work perfectly together.
I still don't think Hogan would work out well for him at all, because Hogan is a whole show, tries to be a whole show by himself. Fair.
Macho Man would have been great with him.
No, Macho Man is a little. If the body would come back and be the mouthpiece for him, he will probably say that that's his living legend protege walking. He will probably say that, and that would probably be the best thing, if anything, if you want to give him a manager. Truth be told,
I just thought about something that made me laugh, and it would never happen. And Val Venus.
No. No.
But anywho, Move on.
innuendos and whatnot, it would kind of work, but it really wouldn't. It was just up all over again. And I'm making a mistake. Excuse me, people, because I'm just now recognizing it. I'm trying to find the person in my head. God rest his soul. I know who I'm talking about, and I know who it is, and I can't remember his name. But Jesse the Body Ventura and the person that I'm thinking of are not the exact same person. Ravishing Rick Rude. That's who I was looking for.
Oh yeah,
that because he has his pans and
Rick
the Dreams pans.
To be honest, I disagree there because Rick Rude reminded me more of a Hill Bobby Roode.
Well, no, you have to look at Ravishing Rick Rude. But you will probably think so because of the coats and shit that he wore. But you have to look at the attitude, persona, and how he played out, far as his image wise, reminds you of what Dream does now. If we're talking about far
to
as
be honest, it reminds me of a modern day. To be honest, attitude and eccentricities. Dream reminds me of Rick
Flair.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting thought. But I look at the only reason why I say Ravishing Rick Rude because I'm thinking of the classic era Ravishing Rick Rude, which is the era that I originally started growing up in. Is around that time, like late 80s, early 90s, that period of time before the Attitude Era actually took off. The Attitude Era took off during like my mid years.
98, I think it was 97, 98 is when it really started, I think.
Yeah, those mid years when I was in middle school going into junior high, that era. Then after that I got the what is it, the something aggression era. I can't remember what it is. It's around
Ruthless aggression.
Yeah, ruthless aggression. It's around the time that John Cena and them stopped popping up. So I was between all three of those. So me looking at Ravishing Rick Rude, looking at old images of him and how his attire looks just like Dream. The way that his persona, his attitude was just like Dream. Later in his persona, his attitude, well, not really that. The way that he would come out there and dress, initially you would think more of Bobby Roode and the Glorious One. But you have to remember, if you go onto the WWE network, so just for anybody out there, you can sign up for free if you never signed up before, or you can sign up for $9.99 a month. It's cheap. Allowance for kids out there listening, ask your parents for an allowance. It's just $10. Ravishing Rick Rude, if you look at any of his matches from the old school, if they have it on the WWE network, which most likely they do, then you look at Dream now and you hear a promo from Ravishing Rick Rude, you will be like, wait, is this Ravishing Rick Rude or is this the Dream? And it's just like, you look at them both and it's the same thing. Voices don't sound the same, but if you look at attire, the way they wrestle and things of that nature, it's about the same thing. Okay. But Dream is a little bit more flashier with the way that he does stuff. He has more of the inklings of Goldust sprinkled in on top of Ravishing Rick Rude, on top of another character that I can't think of right now that would make who Velveteen Dream is. Overall,
Prince.
Yeah, but God rest his soul. We ain't talking about musical wise. If we're talking about anything that wise, if we're relating to Prince, it'd be more of the color.
I remember watching Tough Enough when Dream was on it.
Oh Lord.
He was terrible.
We not going.
He wasn't terrible in ring. He was just a terrible person.
He's come a long way.
Oh yes, and I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm just saying it was ugly on Tough Enough with him. And to be honest, that's why he got the Dream gimmick. He said he could get anything over on that show, and Triple H said okay. He signed him because he saw the potential in him. He said okay, if you can get this gimmick over, you can do anything in this industry, and I'll be darned if he didn't get it over.
He got it over.
That's why John Cena has said Velveteen Dream is, in his opinion, the future of the company. I don't agree with that, but I think the future of the company is Tyler Bate.
Well, that's if Tyler Bate ever made the move to the main roster. Which I don't know if he would or if he wouldn't. And I think you have a lot of those guys that that
At this
are in
point,
the UK that the bruiserweight would make a great addition to the main roster. But you have to look at a lot of those people from the UK. Will they make that transition to the main roster or not? And it's just like Noam Dar. I think he's one of the only ones that I know for a fact that has made the transition from, To
be honest, I think Bate will eventually, because you got to look at it. Bate's only, 20? 21?
I think 2021, somewhere around there.
I think it was 19 last year during the UK tournament when he won it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's like 20. But, so you look at that. There's no way, and he's on a WWE contract with NXT. There's no way they don't capitalize on bringing him up with his athleticism and physique.
I will want to see. He's 21 now. He just turned 21 this year.
Okay, so he's 20 last year. My bad.
Mm-hmm. But his stature and his size, like, he will be great for the main roster. But
what worries me on that whole situation is, don't make him Apollo Crews 2.0.
He's definitely nowhere near Apollo Crews no Apollo Crews at all. Apollo Crews is a whole nother character of a whole nother color, literally.
I'm just saying in general, calling him up too soon because of his size and physique.
Well, that's why it's not. But you have to remember, Tyler Bate is shorter than me. I'm 6 feet tall, and if I'm not mistaken, you're about 6 feet tall. Tyler Bate is 5'7". 175 pounds. I weigh more than him and I am taller than him, but the amount of strength, the amount of power, the amount of athleticism that Tyler Bate has, he would be great. It's just a simple fact that you have to remember the main roster.
Is he really that short? I thought he was taller than that.
No, he is only 5'7". He is not a tall individual at all. So
I could have sworn he was at least 5'10".
No, watching him in the ring doing the things that he do breathes a lot more life into seeing, wow, this kid can do a lot at 5'7", 175 pounds, if not a little bit more than that. And it's like, damn, he's good. And it's just like, you can't take that away from the kid. But you have to, again, remember, we're talking about the WWE machine, the main roster, which is like the top of the ladder. Then you got NXT. Well, there's really no middle of the ladder. That's kind of the top of the ladder up there. So you climbing your way through NXT up to the top of the ladder. And it's kind of either way you go. You either go right or left when you jump off. You either go right and go to SmackDown, you jump left and go to Raw. And either way, you're going to get lost in the mix because they really haven't really figured out the formula of trying to transition these guys into what they need to do, because they're too busy trying to run up behind some of these other guys instead of using these other guys that are out here. You're not feeding and foddering them to the upcoming guys to like transition to feed them to them to get them to grow. If those people can grow, win or lose, you just need to be able to put them in a predicament that actually allows them to be able to do that.
I think honestly they're learning a good. They're learning a lot about how to transition them now, because you got to look at it. The smoothest transition that has been from NXT to the main roster has been Andrade Cien Almas. And
why do you say that?
One, yes, he lost his title to Aleister Black at the last Takeover he was at. But, I mean, that's how it always works. You lose your title and then you come up, unless you're Asuka, who just vacates it. Which, that's a whole other argument for a whole different day. Because she's been wasted. But anyways, then he comes up. They build him by feuding or taking care of Jobber for the first couple of weeks on SmackDown. Not only that, but they built up his debut on SmackDown too. If you remember that, they held off on debuting him instead of on the very first day. When they did the shakeup, they announced he was on SmackDown. He was called up, but they held off like 2 or 3 weeks before he even showed up. Mm-hmm. And Zelina Vega and him cut promos, and they fed him jobbers. Then they fed him Sin Cara for 1 or 2 weeks on SmackDown, and then gave him a pre-show match at a pay-per-view. I think it was Extreme Rules, or it was last pay-per-view. Can't remember. Money in the Bank. But what's the last pay-per-view name? What do you think? Whatever. But the last pay-per-view, they had a pre-show match. Now, then he moves into a feud with Rusev Day, who is super over, and he's owning them too. And they're building him up for a serious title run. Maybe not the world championship, but a mid-card to build him so he can move to the main event picture, because he is a main eventer.
I mean, now here's the thing. Now, while I agree about Andrade Cien Almas, he's one of my favorites, been one of my favorites since he showed up, since he debuted in NXT. The biggest issue that really sticks me when it comes down to the main roster is that you have people like Andrade Cien Almas, you have people like Sanity, you have people like Samoa Joe and Braun Strowman.
Sanity is something that angers me.
Sami Zayn is a whole nother. That literally is
Sanity. Sanity makes me very mad the way they're having them work right now.
Well, I mean that's one. Let's handle one task at a time, because we can literally jump from one to another. To far as Andrade is great, the way they're building him, but again, like I said, what sticks me is the way that they're transitioning these people into doing this. Like they did Nia Jax the same way they're doing Andrade, doing the same way they did.
It's a learning curve. It's really a learning curve. You got to take somebody who is very over in what I call essentially the minor leagues of WWE in NXT, and you can't throw them straight into a title picture.
I mean, you're not expecting them to go into a title picture either. But
no, I understand that, but you have to work them in to one. Most of them have never had to grind like they do on the main roster, working 5 days a week, 4 to 5 days a week, traveling all the time, having to find time to work out, while also doing media.
I mean, true. I mean, that's one thing. But if we're really we're not even talking about those add-on aspects to them being on the main roster. Getting them to the main roster and getting them acclimated to the main roster is the issue. It's because WWE consistently breathes in that they have all of this wrestling entertainment and action to be had each and every week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and throughout the rest of the week you can watch whatever you want on the WWE network for $9.99 a month. Thumbs up. There you go. Shameless plug. At the end of the day, it still does not work, because I've said it time and time again. 205 Live was wasted at the initial point when they said it was being brought exclusively to the Raw brand. They didn't know what to do with them when they brought them to the Raw brand, and it didn't do anything for them. At that point, they should have gave them a little bit of time to grow, and it would have been fine. But, and even not even bringing them up to the roster at all, to exclusively making something happen in conjunction, which would have been the better announcement, which would have been announced in conjunction with WWE NXT. WWE Monday Night Raw would like to announce a partnership to bring in the WWE Cruiserweight division to Monday Night Raw, which would have been great. But that means essentially still they would have been down in NXT. Not saying they wouldn't have a main roster contract. They would still have that. But it would give NXT and 205 Live time to grow and shine, because they're taking...
So I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
So long for them to grow with the main roster. And that was a big issue with that. Then you have all these call-ups that were coming up from NXT. And it's still... They don't know how to properly integrate these people into the roster with the talent they already have, thinking that, oh, I'm going to interrupt the storyline. You're not going to interrupt the storyline. You're going to grow people that you have. This gives you an opportune time to actually see the divisions. You know, here's your mid-carders and here's your main eventers and tag teams and your women, blah, 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 blah. You can really integrate those people in and out of those divisions constantly. It's like the main roster forgot how the fucking wheel works. They're constantly, the wheel is round. There's no way to remake the wheel. It's round. and they're constantly trying to make the wheel rectangle and square. There's no possible way. It does not work. Stop trying to do that. Just make it go around and just roll the people into the wheel and just keep it going. That's all you got to do.
I agree with that.
And it's not, they don't have an issue with that. And that's why I fear that with this message that the Dream put on the back of his pants, Vince, call me up. I feel like either if they don't push him into the roster the correct way or roll him into the roster the correct way, he is going to fall flat and we're going to miss the Dream once again. And I'm going to be one of those fans who are going to be angry tweeting very pissly on Twitter that you've wasted my favorite superstar from NXT, bringing him up to the main roster, not knowing what to do. At this point, you have to find a mindset like Triple H, who grew up in this older era and is now trying to bring that back because he realizes that's what's needed in order to keep the WWE machine rolling in the correct way. That's what, if he's using aspects of when he came in, using aspects of the Ruthless Aggression era, he's using aspects of the Attitude era as far as how the storylines are very greedy and aggressive, and then using the traditional aspects of how wrestling has grown from when they went from territories and things of that nature from the NWA, which all of them came from. It would
WWF.
All WCW, ECW, all of them were in there at one point, but he gets the issue, which is why NXT and a lot of people hover around NXT, even though they think it's an indie brand. They hover around NXT because it does what it needs to do, but it has the WWE machine behind it. Now, if WWE main roster machine can take the aspects of how NXT is running things and actually get Vince to actually think and sit down for a second and actually see what's going on and run these storylines correctly, we would then see WWE turn everything on its head all over again. We would see people stop being pinnacleized on these pedestals. Oh, we need to have this, and this person up here, and actually see them transition around and move around and actually create storylines where we can actually see individual matches on pay-per-views. They don't have a stipulation, they don't have a title represented behind them. It's just a one-on-one competition, these two battling out, brutalizing it out, and stealing the show, or a tag team stealing the show that don't include the tag team championships, or the women doing the exact same thing. It's hard for them to do that, and it's clearly point proven, which scares the hell out of me. Like I said, with this message on the Dreams pants of Vince call me up, it scares me, because if he gets up into the main roster and they lose him, I am going to be one pissed customer, which is why I'm watching the AJ Styles and Samoa Joe match very closely, which is why I'm watching Andrade Cien almost very closely, because if anything happens to any of those two individuals, more specifically Samoa Joe, if anything happens to those two individuals where you don't see them transition into the roles correctly that they need to do, because Joe is point proven over and over time again, you throw a strap on him, it's a wrap. He is going to dominate. He's clearly been able to dominate with and without a strap, and y'all really just need to give him that opportune time to really just utterly pick apart the roster like he needs to, and really let storylines grow, because you don't run people up against him very often.
I agree with that, and here's why. I think Joe going over, I mean, I know this is a tie-in to SummerSlam, but I'm sorry, but it kind of works here. I think Joe going over tomorrow would work. And then, because the plan is, a buddy that I wrestled with in the Indies, he's a writer now, but he's told me the plan is to have Andrade a main eventer. Vince sees that. Finally, he sees an NXT star that he can push, but he realizes that the fans are behind Andrade. And so the plan is that, so you have Joe go over, Andrade feud with AJ after AJ loses his rematch. Because those two would they would still shows, period. And then you finally have and Andrade finally take down Joe at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would book it. But I do know for a fact that they do see the potential in Andrade, and they do plan on giving him a huge push here in the future. Near future. Very near future.
Which is great, but that's the thing. Like, You could push a lot of people. I mean, if you don't want to push them to the moon, that's great. But give them a good enough push to say, hey, I want you to go out there and shine, steal the show, do what you need to do to make it happen. You got stars all across the roster, but you got people like Dolph Ziggler with the whole issue that he was having of getting away from WWE and wanting to grow and leave. He was going to grow on the indies, and they know.
Well, he didn't resign.
No,
he didn't sign a long-term contract. A lot of people know he did not.
He didn't sign a long-term contract, but he signed a contract enough to keep him there. But the thing about it, that's the same thing. Like, they know that's what's going to happen if these people get away from the roster.
He's about to leave. Daniel Bryan's about to leave. But
they're saying that Daniel's already is preparing, if not already signed a new contract.
If he did, that's stupid. But that's a whole different show.
But see, that's the thing. That's the whole thing. That's a whole nother thought for a whole nother show. But in the same token, that aspect of it clearly is prevalent. Like, WWE knows, like, you're gonna have to do something soon. Like, they don't want to call it out, and most people know what needs to be done. You're gonna have to let the reins go.
With all the young talent they have right now, eventually they're gonna have to let some of these established stars go to the indies.
Well, I mean, it's not letting the established stars go. They know that they can breathe any and everywhere across the world. It's the WWE machine. Just as I said, the pinnacle of that machine is Vince calling the shots and changing storylines on a dime and constantly pushing people that right now needs to be out of the front of the
the reason why they're so scared of letting the reason why right now they're so scared of letting established stars go is they don't want to get burnt again. Like, well, Emma burnt them, or what she goes by now, Tenille Dashwood.
Her regular name.
Then letting her go was,
It is her tradition, her regular name, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's her actual name. But letting her go was a huge mistake. Releasing her with Summer Rae, I agree with releasing Summer Rae, and I can't remember. And Darren Young at the time. Darren Young was released with those two. I think it was a bad. I think Darren Young got the short end of the stick. I mean, he was injured at the time, so he couldn't be on TVs. And then they're like, "Oh, well, you're not generating enough revenue."
But see, here's the thing: Darren was healed and ready to go before they let him go. When they let Darren go, he was healed, waiting on them, and they let him go.
I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that Bob Backlund wasn't going to come back either.
Well, I mean, even still, he still could have ran out there by himself. This is the problem with the machine. They don't know what to do. They make it look like they don't know how to establish stars, and it's just like, oh, we got somebody that's already established, big star, we're going to just run with them. And it's just like you're looking at that as being it's only like 10, 15 people, but they didn't get burnt with just Emma. They didn't get burnt with just them. What burnt them completely was
I know
Cody.
They didn't just get burnt with Emma, but
Emma
was still fresh in the mind.
But she's still fresh in the mind.
I forgot about it. She was still fresh in the mind when the whole Dolph Ziggler contract issue came up. When he was time to resign, and he was literally talking publicly about leaving and going to the Indies.
But here's the thing, it's not.
And they didn't want to lose because Emma had just burnt him.
It wasn't Emma. Cody is the reason why all of them are now considering leaving or wanting to go anywhere. Cody has literally proven time and time again since he has left that he can do what they should have done with him a long time ago. What he was already doing before they made him Stardust with his brother, which, don't get me wrong, was a great pinnacle point between the two brothers being able to do that. But Cody is proven over and over and over again, along with Chris Jericho, proven over and over and over again, you can be on the Indies and still establish what you want to do. Jericho's done it before. He was in the Indies before, so now him going back to the Indies, being who he is and doing what he's already done in WWE, just turns the fucking screwdriver just that much harder. And Cody is turning the screwdriver every time you hear his name, and it's just like, Cody's been world champ in some of the integral places. He's in Ring of Honor, New Japan. He's there, and now he's going to get ready to fight for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. And it's kind of like you're looking at everything. It's like Dolph would have practically done the exact same thing. Right now, everybody's wondering about Neville. Neville can't go anywhere. Neville is sitting at home until Neville
Yeah, he's still technically under contract.
Until Neville
And not
agrees
only
with
that,
the company about what he's going to do, his contract is frozen. And it's just like the same thing they did with Ray. Eventually, they're going to let him go when they come down to a terms and conditions. But it's just the simple fact is like,
but he'll still get a non-compete clause.
Yeah, he'll get that, but it's just like at this point.
And if he keeps this up, they're going to screw him on a non-compete clause like they did Ray.
I mean, but Ray was injured, and there's the reason why Ray got into his situation, which is it's a similar situation, but Neville stuck himself just by saying I quit and walked out. So
I don't blame him though. I do not blame him why he did it.
I don't blame him why he did it either, but I do blame him for just walking out. Like, I understand you're upset, you're mad. That's great. But at the same time, like, move on. You're now getting that you got the time to run with the ball, continue to run.
You're talking about a guy who was at one point considered, you're talking about at one point a guy who was at one point considered a legit world title threat, who was injured in a very horrible fashion when he dislocated his ankle against Jericho, and when Jericho literally had to stop the match when he attacked the ref because Jericho realized he was hurt and the ref wouldn't stop the match. Then when he finally comes back, they stick him on a dying brand, in my opinion, and I still think this, and everybody can disagree with me. Oh, it's growing. It's not. It's really not. 205 Live. And stick him as the champion, hoping that people will tune in because, once again, he was a former favorite to possibly be a world champion. And then you want him to lay down for Enzo Amore?
I mean,
because Enzo.
But I understand. I do understand. I understand your point, and I understand the reason why he left. But to push this back on you and the other fans and everybody else, the internet and everybody else, I'm going to push this back in y'all lap. We've seen this happen time and time and time again. What makes Neville any different than anybody else that this shit has happened to? He got up as a grown ass man and made a decision that I'm going to walk out because I'm going to have to lay down for Enzo Amore. Who the fuck cares? Lay down for the man, move on, because at the same time, you were the established star. You had to carry Enzo throughout that entire rivalry. You got mad.
Not only that, he carried the entire division. He carried that entire division.
He carried it, but that's the point. You walked out. Nobody made you get up and walk. You walked. So any fan out there who's upset still about Neville leaving or quitting,
I'm not upset. I don't. Once again, I don't feel any sympathy for him. I'm just playing devil's advocate to you arguing one side. I'm trying to get the other side. So, I mean, it's not a one-sided show.
I mean, it's not a one-sided show, but it upsets me that people still bring it up like he laid down. He didn't want to lay down for Enzo. I'm looking at the aspect like when he said when they broke the news online that he got.
I agree with you. I agree with you because
I kind of turned my head. I was just like, "Are you serious?" I was like, "Are you serious right now? You got upset because you had to lay down for Enzo." Okay, I understand you're upset, but you walked out and said, "I quit," and it's just like,
here's my issue with the whole thing, and I once again, this is going to agree with you. What was the death of the WCW?
There's a lot of things that attribute to the WCW.
I mean, yes, there was. A lot of it has to do with Ted Turner selling Turner Broadcasting, but the death started well before that, when Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Ric Flair, and Hulk Hogan decided how their matches were going to go. Or they wouldn't wrestle.
But here's the thing.
That's the issue with the Neville thing.
And I understand, but you have to understand those individual people like that eventually end up having creative control over their contract, which a lot of people do have creative control over their contract, instituted those clauses into their contract in such manner that they people forgot, and that's how they pushed it out there. And Jeff
But that's how
Jarrett
it
had to
died.
deal with Jeff Jarrett had to deal with the exact same thing about laying down. I think it was for Hogan or somebody else about getting the world title back, because he really didn't want to do it and he didn't like it, and it got brought out to the forefront. But this is, again, a lot of situations like that. When it happens like that, I do understand that. I will agree with, the person who's upset at that time. But Neville, at this point in time, I was happy for Neville. When Neville came back,
yes,
I was excited.
I agree,
and I
agree.
saw
At this
the
point,
wheels turning in his head when I was like, Neville is not going to come back a happy person. He's going to come back very rough, aggressive.
Here's my issue with the whole Neville situation. Here's my issue with it. Enzo's gone. Quit being a bitch. It's over. Enzo's gone. Come back.
But here's the thing. He still, as a grown man, put himself in that situation. He's going to have to eat.
I agree.
He's going to have to. He's going to have
still
to
wants him. WWE, Triple H still wants him back. Vince still wants him back.
But here's the thing.
But he's still proud.
As a grown man, he's going to have to eat crow. And a lot of fans are going to look at this.
WWE and he knows put this. It out there, and that's why he won't come back. And because he knows he's going to have to serve his time as a jobber.
No. That's not the right format that we want to put out. No, he won't.
Yes,
This is the thing. He won't do that. While he may receive some punishment aspect of that, people may look at him funny for that situation. They're going to treat him with a little bit of disrespect and contempt and hold off from him. I don't think that is a full aspect of what's going to happen. What's essentially happening here at this point, while his contract is frozen, while they have the adamant respect to do that, Neville is going to have to eat crow the entire time, not only for his pride but for himself. You establish yourself as the king of the cruiserweights. You created 205 Live. You dominated that entire brand. You had everything in your hand at that aspect. You didn't want to lay down for Enzo Amore. You didn't really want to put yourself in the aspect to lose against Austin Aries either, but it happened and Austin is gone. Here we have you laying down for Enzo Amore. Lay down, get it over with, move on. Use that as a determination to then rewrite.
What really angers me about the whole thing is not only that, but they wanted him to lay down so they could move him up to the main roster to build him up again. They wanted him in the 205 Live to build the division, in which he did. They wanted him to lay down for Enzo so Enzo could keep it going and finally have a heel, like, you know what I mean, a cowardly heel in Enzo to put over a Cedric Alexander or a Mustafa Ali, and then move Neville up to the main roster. But Neville, after building 205 Live, didn't think that Enzo was the proper heir, if you know what I mean. He wasn't the heir apparent in his opinion.
The heir apparent wasn't his deal to deal with either. It wasn't his point to just say, "Oh, no, I don't disagree.
I don't disagree." That's the issue. But it is what it is. We're veering off from NXT again. But
I mean, even veering off from NXT, this still just breathes back into NXT. Far as established stars going from NXT up to the main roster, you have like that happened. And to again, like I said, that's my biggest fear of Dream going up to the main roster. Neville doing what he did just makes me, just antagonizes my spirit, because he had everything laid into his hand. Like, you are getting back to that aspect of how almost you were when you were down in NXT, being an NXT champion. If they're going to move you back to the main roster, regardless of whoever the heir to the throne was in 205 Live, don't throw it away. Like, I'm going to just forget about y'all. Now, don't throw it away. You grew that brand. It's on recognition now, and it's just like, now they're gonna bring you back to the main roster. You could have been Intercontinental Champion. They could have threw you into there, and it could have been you versus fucking Finn Balor for the Universal Championship, or you versus.
No, it could have been him versus Finn, because Finn was.
I mean, it could have been anybody at that point. Regardless of who was there or not, but it's just Neville just did it to himself.
It's a sad day in WWE when a guy like Neville, a talent like Neville, the man gravity forgot, which I fully believe. If you watch him fly, he is truly the man gravity forgot.
I mean, it's true, but you have to just use. He He took his ball
and he did it to himself. And he did it to himself. He let his ego and his pride get in the way of his career. And it's sad. But guess what? It happens. It's happened to many before, and it'll happen to many after. Because men are flawed. Everybody has their pride, and everybody wants to be that guy. And yes, it sucks, but move on. And it's not setting a precedence. I mean, it hasn't happened since.
It probably will happen
because it'll happen again. It's this whole thing is cyclic. It's a cycle. It'll happen. I mean, at one point, Austin walked out. A lot of people don't remember that, but Austin walked out, and he was fined, and he walked out, and he was gone for I want to say 3 months, and then called Vince and talked to him, and Vince said, "Come to Connecticut, we'll talk." And they went to the office, and they had their little conversation. Neither one will say what was said, you know, the whole conversation. But again, Austin was docked, had to pay the company. I think it was like $500,000 at the time in 2001, 2002, which is a lot of money back then. I think it's essentially like 1.2 million with inflation now. Back to the company before he could wrestle again. So, one, they set that example, and it didn't happen again for a very long time until Neville this time. So, I'm really intrigued to see what kind of punishment, if Neville does come back, he gets.
We'll see. Honestly, truth be told,
moving on NXT Takeover.
To move on from NXT, I mean, where do we stop at? Dream and EC3 used to go 3 more matches ago.
I gave it 3 stars just because it was a good match. Average match, no big spots really.
No, it really wasn't. It
was an average match.
I give it that. It's about 3.25 stars. The next match after that would have been Adam Cole versus Ricochet for the North American Championship, which was an amazing match.
That super kick though.
Yeah, that super kick was murder. That would have took Ricochet out. Like, cause when you saw it in slow motion, zoomed in, he kicked him straight, like, side of the head in the neck area, and I was just like, man, that sucks.
That super kick. I can't. Was that a springboard moonsault or was it a lion salt? They're so similar.
It was springboard moonsault. It was a springboard moonsault.
Was it?
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're both very similar. It's kind of hard.
A lion salt is done purposely a different way. It's kind of one of those.
No, you're right. The lion salt, you climb up and then do it, but Ricochet ran and then did it. You're right. My bad.
I mean, it wasn't a climb up. No, they look essentially similar how they're done. It's just it's very minuscule how they look in aspect and turn how they're called.
Yeah, I didn't know how to call it but either way, it didn't matter. It was beautifully done by Ricochet as usual.
Right.
I mean, the guy, a lot of people, and going back to Neville a little bit, the man gravity forgot. Well, Gravity forgot another guy too.
I mean, there's a lot of people Gravity tends to forget. I mean, Ricochet
Ray,
is one, Grand Metalik is another one in 205 Live. Eddie was another
Eddie Guerrero.
But it's just, we're looking at Ricochet.
Should not go to fly like Eddie could.
No, I mean, Eddie was a small, agile individual, became very buff, and was still very agile.
A lot of mass.
But if we're looking at Ricochet and Adam Cole, it was a great match. It was put on they put it on a pinnacle for the North American Championship.
Honestly,
and I'm glad to see that Ricochet grabbed the championship.
Any other night, that match would have been match of the night. Any other night.
I mean, I will put it in second place if I was talking about match of the night. Truth be told.
No, I agree. But what I'm saying is, any other night where you didn't have the tag team match earlier, that match would have been match of the night.
True. It would
Look
have.
at the spots.
I mean, it hit its spots. It had its slow points.
My
it had
favorite,
its draw points. It
yes,
had some very
that super
high
kick was
spots.
amazing. That super kick was amazing. Yes, but my favorite spot in that entire match was when they're trading hits. It was right at the, I want to say 2 or 3 minutes after Ricochet was almost beheaded by a super kick on the upside down, no less, which was great timing by Adam. And to be honest, that took a lot. That's how you can tell these guys are consummate professionals in the wrestling industry, because most companies wouldn't give those guys the okay to do that unless they knew they could pull it off. But my favorite spot in that whole match was when they were trading kicks about 2 minutes later. You know what I'm talking about?
I remember what you're talking about. It was a good spot. I really enjoyed that. But if I had to, my biggest thing behind that match, I really didn't have like a favorite spot in that match. I more so enjoyed the fact of how they were able to counter different moves, transition from one to the next, and then be able to pull out, these quick combinations of signature moves and then right into a finishing move. And it's just like, we just saw you just go down with these huge high spots, and you got enough energy to be able to pull off this move, pinfall, and it's just like, damn.
And here's the crazy part. Guys like that, yes, they kind of rehearse a little bit on the big spots so they don't screw it up. But most of that was done on the fly.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell because they moved around that ring without much precedence at all.
They were really, and when they passed each other, they said, "This is what we're going to do real quick," and they called that match on the fly. I mean, they knew what the final result was supposed to be, but they called that match. You could see them communicating the whole time.
But it was a good thing that they actually did that.
Oh, I agree. And it happens a lot on the main roster when you got big name guys like that. And to be honest, I love the NXT product because they always put on a quality show.
Mm-hmm.
But guys like Adam Cole, Ricochet should never be in NXT. The only reason they're in NXT was because NXT didn't really have those big names.
Well,
they should have went straight to the roster.
Here's the thing. I understand why they're in NXT, and I understand why some do miss NXT and go straight to the main roster. Adam Cole and Ricochet and those were good for NXT. They needed both.
No, I agree. And to be honest, it was the right move. But I think that, and honestly, had Ricochet gone straight to the main roster, he'd have been buried in 205 Live, which would have been terrible for his career.
I don't think it would have been terrible for his career, but I think essentially that's one of the things a lot of people will say, oh, he should have been straight to the main roster. Moving him straight to the main roster, again, we all have to remember, if we actually keep it in our heads, the WWE machine does not know how to roll new people into the wheel correctly and keep it running in the same direction without turning the wheel far left or far right, or not keeping the wheel straight when they're adding new people in. If Ricochet or Adam Cole would have got added to the main roster, it would have been a minute before we actually saw them pick up the steam.
Not only that, but once again, when was the last person that went straight to the main roster that was successful? AJ. And the only reason of that is because AJ was, and still is, in my opinion, the best wrestler in the world.
I mean, but let AJ tell you specifically in her most recent interview, it took Vince to believe in AJ after What match was it? It
took a while for Vince to believe in AJ. I know that.
But it's just kind of one of those things. Like it's the kind of thing that we teeter on when we pushed him like this straight to the main roster. Which I can understand AJ and what he has done. It would have been right for him to go to the main roster, but to see some of the things like that's one of the big
AJ wouldn't have fit in. That's the thing. Like, I get Ricochet and Adam Cole going to NXT because yes, they were known. But they weren't bigger than most WWE superstars when they were signed. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah.
AJ was the founder of the Bullet Club.
That'd be a point of contention if we actually said that out loud.
Well, not the founder, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He was the foundation of the Bullet Club. Yeah. He's the one who put him and Gallows and Anderson are the ones who put the Bullet Club on the map. Let me rephrase all of that. That's what I mean. That's why those three went straight to the main roster. And Gallows and Anderson is a whole different story. They're being treated wrong, in my opinion. But once again, different story for a different day.
Again, yet another fight in your words. I'm just pointing out. I'm playing devil advocate at this point. Just kind of picking at what you're saying. I know that's. What you're saying is true in some aspects, but there are a lot of people that then fight you once again for that because it's like you have to look at the aspect of the leadership and how it transitioned. It started with Finn, transitioned to AJ, and now we got Kenny and the Elite. People will fight you over the last statement that you had that AJ was the foundation at that time. AJ was a very huge pinnacle of Bullet Club at the time after Finn left because it's like who would take over, and then to see AJ become the lead and just like it led into a whole different aspect of what we can see now, which a lot of people do look at that. It is because it's like AJ became the Bullet Club and it's just like whoa. And
yes, I agree with that. I will concede that, but here's my issue with that. Most people would have never known about the Bullet Club had it not been for Finn going to NXT and people looking up who he was after he took NXT by storm. And then finding out that AJ, who was a former WWE superstar, believe it or not, and the tag team of Air Raid, was in charge of it now. So, in essence, AJ wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Finn, I'll give you that. But the Bullet Club wouldn't be who it is without AJ.
I would agree. But like I said, so many good points tonight could lead into so many more conversations. But I don't doubt that at all. But looking at Adam Cole being once a part of the Bullet Club as well, we now seeing him back here tonight with the NXT North American Championship, which I will safely say and go back on my old opinion. Like I said, he was a good thing for the North American Championship, but he was a total waste of giving him the North American Championship first. It was
a total waste, and they should have given it to Dream in that way they first introduced it for that. I think it was a 6-way match, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They should have given it to Dream or Ricochet instead of Adam Cole, and they should have pushed Adam Cole to the NXT Championship picture, in my opinion.
True. I mean, that would have given some highlight to him fighting Aleister Black.
Not only that, but if you actually rewatch that match, that 6-way match, Dream and Ricochet stole the show in that match.
That they did.
Their spots were amazing. That the roll on the ladder that Dream did on Ricochet, and then Ricochet jumping off the top of the ladder on all other 5. It was just an amazing match. And to put Adam, and don't get me wrong, Adam Cole is an amazing talent. But he just wasn't he doesn't fit in the mid card, in my opinion. He's a lot like Miz, in my opinion. A guy who should be in the main event picture, but guess what? Creative won't put you there.
True.
Which is crazy.
But
because they're great talents.
But here's the thing. Sometimes looking at that aspect, just to add on to that, sometimes in that same thought and in that same opinion, though they should be in the main event, they look like they need to be in the main event. Sometimes you have those intricate key people that ride that fine line between the two that could hop in either, both, the mid card or the main. And
no, I agree.
Really
and Adam Cole was a very, to be honest, at that point, Adam Cole was an established NXT star. So it was the logical decision to give him the newly established championship to give it relevance.
Mm-hmm.
And Ricochet was the new guy. Also established, but still the new guy. So they didn't know how well he was going to be received. So, I mean, I get it. I do. But like I said, Adam Cole should have been immediately pushed into the NXT title picture. He's that good.
I give him that, but we're talking about the WWE machine here, not anywhere else.
A lot of people that I talk to don't agree with this, but in my opinion, he's an HBK test tube clone. Looks exactly like him when HBK was coming up. Has a super kick.
I wouldn't give him the HBK. I understand where you're coming from, but I wouldn't give him that.
Oh, I'm not saying he's HBK. I'm not saying he's HBK 2.0 at all. I'm just saying he looks like HBK.
In what aspect other than
he looks like kick? His aesthetics. He literally looks like a young HBK.
Okay, which HBK are we talking about? Are we talking about the later HBK after he got out of his wild point?
Young to middle-aged HBK.
We're talking about before
90s,
his first...
90s HBK. 90s HBK. He looks like, in the face, looks like HBK.
Are we talking about before or after the world title?
Trying to remember when he won his first world title.
It would have been Bret Hart WrestleMania 12 Iron Man match.
Okay. You remember when HBK? I can't tell you exactly the year because
but I it
all jumbles together.
Title match, I think.
Thinking back, it just all kind of jumbles together into one thought. But you remember when HBK first started growing stubble out, like Adam Cole has? He just looks, in my opinion, he kind of reminds me of HBK in looks. But in ring, he reminds me of Triple H in 1996, King of the Ring. That's just me.
Yeah, I'm trying to see some of these aspects. Just some of it's not linking up quite yet.
Like looks. He looks like HBK. Not attire, not what he does, not attitude or anything. I'm just saying the dude looks like HBK a little bit, or a lot of it, in my opinion. Yeah, he looks like HBK a lot of it, in my opinion. That's why I call him an HBK clone. But when he wrestles, I see a lot of 95, 96, 97 Triple H. He's like DX all in one package. But he has a catchphrase that won't get you in trouble in school.
I have to. I understand that's your opinion, but I would have to disagree with you on the whole imaging thing as a whole. Like that's why I'm sitting here, because like Shawn Michaels number one as far as like.
Yeah, I know. HBK is your boy.
But looking at him, if we're talking about that era of Shawn Michaels, I would probably say around the era of Shawn Michaels when he won his first championship is more of the look that you're probably referring to, and the more of the aspect of Triple H around the time where he started to come like moving into the game situation, like during the DX era. No. The DX era.
No. I meant the transition from the Click to DX. You know, that like 2-year window.
But you have to remember that was Hunter Hearst Helmsley, not Triple H.
I mean, you know what I meant. I meant H. He's the same person.
Yeah.
Long blonde hair.
Yeah, in that same sense, but a lot of people argue with you over the aesthetics of that particular Triple H, because that was more of a refined, aggressive type Triple H.
Let me rephrase this. He, in ring, reminds me more of the Triple H who in Kayfabe stole, or Kayfabe, how you want to pronounce it, stole Stephanie from Test.
That would have been the latter Triple H, like moving into the game, like Triple H he was using.
That, like you said, that's who I was talking about.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, in some of those aspects, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, as far as like attitude wise and how he moves around the ring, yes, but sprinkling a few other moves and technicalities, yeah, I could.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not saying moveset and everything is exactly the same. I'm just saying he looks like him, like HBK, but reminds me of that era Triple H, is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And that's a great thing, to be honest. To be able to say that, to be able to associate somebody with two, who in my opinion are two of the greatest of all time. Two of the probably top 15 guys to ever step inside of a squared circle.
Right. And
it's not an insult to him. It's not anything. It's just that's who he reminds me of.
Nothing wrong with that at all. It's nothing wrong with that. But even going back into like how he wrestled tonight in that match with Ricochet for the North American Championship, it was great, and you could really see that is his own character, his own image, and his own moveset, and how he moved around the ring.
No, I agree, and more power to him, because once again, I'm not the only person with that opinion. But to be able to say I'm Adam Cole, not these two guys, and make a name like he has, is amazing. And he's a great talent. I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm not saying, oh, he's just a knockoff HBK, he's a knockoff Triple H. He's Adam frickin' Cole.
Yeah. I mean, and that's everything in his own right to be who he is Adam Cole. And it's just like a lot of times when we do compare these current stars to other stars, it kind of does kind of stick out there when people start seeing it. But it's kind of, we're not taking anything from them. It's like we're not taking anything from Adam Cole, comparing him to these two individuals. It's just certain aspects and visions that a person will see that reminds them of somebody else. And when what I saw tonight, when I looked at the both of them in the ring all together, I mean, I saw a lot. I really can't put my finger on anybody that Ricochet reminds me of, because he literally reminds me of no one. And it's just like, but Adam Cole, he has a lot of different aspects of people that we have seen in WWE. But there are a few people in WCW that would remind me more of Adam Cole. Names have literally escaped my mind at this point, but there's a few other people that would more make me remind me more of Adam Cole in WCW. And a lot of people probably say, why you say WCW, not WWE? Because there's a lot of great stars in WCW. They just really didn't.
Well, WCW is WWE. You mean WWF.
No, I mean WCW. I don't mean WWF.
No. WCW. I know what you mean. But you said WCW, not. But why do you say WCW, not WWE? Because WWE is WCW. But at that time, WCW was battling WWF, and they merged and became WWE.
Okay. Not in that aspect. I think you're missing what I mean. Not even in the sense of WWE as a whole, because they had to transfer to WWE long before they actually merged. But
yeah, they did because World Wildlife Federation. But.
Yeah, but I'm just referring to stars in WCW that I remember watching and growing up with, along with those stars that I would see in WWE as well. They're just stars in WCW I see more of Adam Cole in than I would see people in WWE.
I'll have to watch some Nitro and some Thunder on the network to see what you're talking about. But
yeah, there's some people over there you probably look at and be like, now I understand. But there's some ones over there. But congratulations to Ricochet becoming a North American champion. I will see quite a few great rivalries come upon him through that North American championship. He will continue to elevate that championship further and give them what they want, the honor and prestige to that title, to make it grow and really establish that championship. But
my issue with him winning it is, in my opinion, it prolongs his time in NXT as opposed.
Like I don't. He doesn't.
I don't know where he fits in the main roster. That's the issue,
Mike. That's the problem with the roster. We can say we want these people to go to the main roster all day, but if you as a fan cannot see yourself putting them anywhere in the main roster and making them roll into that WWE cog machine, let them stay where they are. Because this is
I agree.
This is the fear that we have with every NXT star that has gone up there, and that's every last one of them, because they've either gotten lost for a period of time, or they gotten up there, had a little something, then stopped, and then had a little something again, and they finally got it going. But it's that whole thing of them coming out of NXT, going to the main roster, and having to get rolled into that wheel, and then feel like we have to reestablish them all over again. We don't have to reestablish these stars. Stop assuming that we do. The main roster and NXT are completely different, but these stars, we know them. When they get to the main roster knows them. I wish they would stop this pinnacle and this laughter and this joke around that we don't know who these people are. And they act like the main roster don't know who these people in NXT are. Like you said earlier, there are 7 hours of programming on TV. 7 hours of programming on TV every week. People watch all of this programming. They know who the people in 205 Live are, whether they cheer them or not. They know who the people are in NXT because they watch them every week. They see Takeover every Saturday before the big major pay-per-views like we saw tonight. There is no excuse for Vince, Kevin Dunn, anybody on the main roster, any of the producers.
Don't get me started on the rabbit team. Let's
keep it in, because we run almost out of time here. We cannot keep establishing this fact or running this out the line, or getting quoted that y'all keep saying this on the main roster, or Vince is thinking this way, that we don't know who these stars are in NXT, or the main roster doesn't know who they are. Yes, they do, because every time you keep sending main roster stars,
most of those main roster guys,
they know who these people are.
Train at the Performance Center with the NXT stars, and they work in the ring to help train them to make them better.
It's not that.
They know who they are.
It's not that. That's the thing. It's not training them, knowing them as a person. It's knowing them as a name. They don't know the main roster or the main universe. Doesn't know who those people are.
What I was referring to is they know who the character is. They know who the person is. They know what they can do, but yet when they get called up, they're treated like a joke. No Way Jose comes to mind.
And
No Way Jose is a great athlete, but treated like a joke.
we're not gonna go there. We got to keep this rolling because we got the next 2 matches to go, and it's just, again, a lot of good key points, and it will just open up more holes. Shayna Baszler versus Kairi Sane for the NXT Women's Championship. Great match. Saw a lot of different aspects out of Kairi Sane in this match to go against Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler showing a little bit more of herself as well, which kind of breathes life into Shayna Baszler, showing her that she's still growing, which she should have continued to be doing before they laced her with the championship. And
Agreed.
Looking at Shayna Baszler and looking at Kairi Sane, it was a great match. Don't get me wrong. They really fought it out to get the rematch from the Mae Young Classic in full force for the NXT Women's Championship. It was a great show. It was very well done, very well put together. It showed that Kairi Sane was able to overcome and adversify herself over Shayna Baszler and use her own momentum and moves against her to pull out the win. Now, Shayna Baszler, on the other hand, I saw a lot in her that was completely different. She looked at Kairi Sane completely different, as if she was somebody that wasn't on the roster. And I appreciated that because it made it feel like she actually was pulling out different moves out of her repertoire and actually going after it, because Kairi Sane was delivering different things that we didn't see before. Any other match you've seen previously before that, Shayna Baszler didn't know what the hell she was doing. She was getting carried from her opponents. Nikki Cross, literally, I don't care what anybody say, Nikki Cross made Shayna Baszler look like a complete and utter jackass, because Nikki let her put her to sleep, and she was just like, just gonna put me to sleep, and she just smiled on the way out, and it was like, oh, that just goes to Nikki's character. No, there was a little shade thrown into that whole aspect in the end of that match, because it made Shayna Baszler look like a complete and utter fool, because Nikki could have won the championship then. She could have took Shayna Baszler ass completely.
In my opinion,
out.
Nikki should have been NXT champion far before that, and it's sad that she's not gonna be, because she's about to get called up to the main roster. But
I mean,
more along those lines, you have other characters in NXT like that, like Peyton Royce.
You talking about the Iconics?
In my opinion. Peyton Royce should have been an NXT Women's Champion. To be honest,
I will say
Asuka,
yay and nay on far as like some people actually being champion. While it would be good to
here's
see
the
them
thing.
hold
This is why I say this. I'm not saying that she should have beat Asuka. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is Asuka was held down in NXT far too long, and she should have just vacated the title, was called up, and they should have done a tournament, and Peyton Royce should have won.
But here's
and held it, and then dropped it when the Iconics were called up. But here's the problem with that, is the Iconics were called up at the same time as Sanity.
True, but at the same time, you have to look at the aspect of how they play Asuka out. And I agree in some aspects that maybe Asuka spent a little too much time down there, but to have the destruction and domination over the roster, because everybody played into Asuka, and Asuka played into the women that she fought against very well, and it created some very well thought out matches, because it many times we clearly could have saw Asuka really destroy these chicks, and like they were coming at Asuka, and Asuka was going back at them, and it made for some very good matches. But I see where you're coming from about that. But at the same time, I also see the same aspect that though some of these people that we want to see them become champion before they come up to the main roster and they never make champion, I've come to grips with, in a sense, because it's like, I want to see you as champion.
I'm not angry because they weren't champion. I'm not, because guess what? A lot of people get called up without winning a championship. What I'm angry about is the fact that the Iconics are treated as a joke when, yes, Billie Kay, she's more of a mouthpiece. But Peyton can wrestle. but she's treated like a joke.
I don't see them being treated as a joke. I see them finally getting, like, kind of reestablishing themselves as who they are. And it's the kind of, I love who the Iconics are, and I enjoy who they are. Their whole platform and everything about them. It's just that at that period of time, I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of them was injured is the reason why they kind of just didn't get the full, rotation around the wheel like they did down in NXT, because I think one of them was injured, so the other one kind of just took it upon herself to go out there and do the things that she needed to do. Now them coming to the main roster, it gives them time to finally see both of them all over again and get them acclimated, as the Iconics, because that's who they are, and then giving them time to, breathe and shine and let them, get on through. And as they getting on through, then we'll see more and more of either one of them actually wrestling more and doing the things that we need to do. I'm more than happy to see eventually one of them becoming champion, which I'm greatly appreciative of, because I love the Iconics. At first I couldn't stand them, but I like them.
I remember in streams I kept saying that the iconic duo at the time, they were the iconic duo at the time, need to be called up, and he kept saying, no, I love them in NXT, they can't get called up. But here's the issue. And the entire women's division under Vince, and yes, there has been an evolution, and they have gotten better matches and more time and better spots and whatnot. But under Vince, look at the champions. Has any one of them, for a legit amount of time, instead of being a transition, been anything different than what the Divas Championship was?
Yeah.
Alexa Bliss.
Well, Alexa's just like Charlotte said.
Like I said,
you're just a diva in a woman's world. Yeah, I agree with that. Carmella.
You're talking about Carmella.
But Alexa reminds me of that in the first episode when I first saw her, but she's grown on me, and I've seen more of Alexa actually get out there.
No, I agree with you. What I'm saying is, what I'm saying in this aspect is, you have, yes, who in my opinion is the most beautiful woman on the roster in Becky Lynch, get the title as the first SmackDown champion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then get buried by, in Alexa Bliss's own words, an overrated, overhyped rookie.
I don't see that.
Because she was, at that time, when she beat Becky, yes, she was.
Who was? Becky?
No. Alexa, when she beat Becky at TLC 2016 in the tables match. An overhyped, overrated rookie.
True enough, yeah, but breathe back into what you were saying. She's the coward champion. That's what they needed, and that's what they got. And it's like, she's not gonna have clean matches, but at the same time, she's grown to improve. But if we're looking at answer your initial question of what you were saying, has anybody actually shown that they'd actually been out there wrestling as they should, instead of looking like it's a Divas Championship? Yes, they have. The only one I have seen out of everybody who has done it is Carmella. Carmella is the only one that I've seen out there. We'll take Naomi out of the equation, only for the simple fact she really didn't get to play.
No, Naomi is a legit athlete. Naomi is a legit athlete. She got a short end of the stick, and now she's a jobber, and it's terrible.
But if we're the only person out of that whole equation of all the champions, but every last one of them who's been champion, the only one is Carmella. People will fight me over this statement, but hear me out.
No, I agree.
She literally epitomizes what Charlotte said. She is a diva in a woman's world. You fight like how the Divas used to fight for the Divas Championship. There were women in the Divas division then who fought like they should be now. So if you had the mix of
Trish, Beth,
Natty, I could what
Lita?
was the who? Lita. I mean, we talking about women, not the women's title. We talking about when it then transformed into the Divas Championship. Some of those people were no longer there. So we're talking about like quite a few individuals who were fighting at that time who would fit more so as a woman fighting. Are we talking about
Eva Torres?
Eva was a fighter. She would actually fit in the women's division. Melina, on the other hand, she would too as well. There's, like I was saying, there's quite a few of them that would fit.
Chyna?
Okay. Chyna was in the women's, not the Divas. We're talking about to
was
answer,
she?
But answer your question.
Sorry.
Right, to answer your question, your statement. Has there been anybody? Carmella's the only one in that aspect who does not fit in the current realm of what they established as the women's division. Now, Carmella was back then when it was considered the Divas Championship, yes. But you also have to realize, but back then when it was the Divas Championship, you had women who could fight as well, which is still should have stayed the Women's Championship instead of the Divas Championship. But in order to hone in with the name that they were calling the women at the time, the Divas, that's why they transitioned it over into what it was. But that still falls in line. You have women on both of those aspects, but Carmella, in a sense, I believe in my whole heart. Don't get me wrong, y'all. I can't stand Carmella at this point. I cannot. But to give Carmella her respect, I truly and honestly do believe Carmella can go out there and handle and wrestle and do exactly what the rest of the women can. But here's the problem. In order for Carmella to get that, they're going to have to give her that opportune time to do that. And they didn't give her that time to do that because she was too busy being followed around by everybody's iconic fuck around, James Ellsworth.
James Ellsworth
just irks my soul that he got an entire contract for no apparent reason, followed Carmella around and really held her back. That was the main issue, and she's forever going to have an asterisk by that time period in her career, regardless if she was the first one to win a contract or not. When you want it yourself, it still put an asterisk by you, and it puts an asterisk by you again as this title reign, because you really haven't established yourself in a lot of people's eyes as being somebody who's really worthy at this time to hold that championship, because we haven't really seen you do nothing. And it's just like, when people can see that, okay, you can fight, y'all know she can fight, all the women, y'all know she can fight, that's great. I'm not knocking her, I'm not doing anything wrong about saying this, but as a WWE machine, y'all know she has not had the time in the front face to show everybody that she can do what y'all know she can do. When we can see that as fans, then we can dictate and say, okay, I'm cool with Carmella. People are cool with Carmella because they like her personality, her attitude, and her persona. Nothing wrong with that. But you cannot dictate and say that Carmella, oh, she's ready. Carmella clearly keeps proving that she ain't ready. And it's just like, I know Carmella can go out here and wrestle. I know she can. She's been training. She's been doing everything she needs to do. But I have yet to see anything of that aspect, because every time I see it, it's just like, what are we looking at?
So I agree.
It almost made me feel like Carmella got a Dolph Ziggler moment. When Dolph Ziggler came out there, I think it was after WrestleMania, and won the World Heavyweight Championship, and then subsequently was gone right afterwards because of a damn concussion. That's literally what I feel like what Carmella is getting right now.
And the only reason I brought that up, to be honest, is because there are many fans who say that Carmella can't progress. She's just the diva. No, she's an athlete too. People say Alexa Bliss will never progress. They're just divas. They're not wrestlers. I disagree. They're athletes. They play cowardly heels. They're not supposed to put on 5-star matches.
Well, hold on. They are supposed to put on 5-star matches because even as a cowardly heel, they know how to fight, they know how to dictate, they know how to do the things that they need to do. But in that same sense, again, to add on to what you're saying, Carmella is a cowardly heel. But in that same token, this also has to go into now we're having to play catch up with Carmella. And like I said, being held back by the chinless ass of fucking James Ellsworth. Excuse my language once again. But that hindered a lot of development and good things.
Oh, I agree.
For Carmella.
And here's another thing that a lot of people don't realize. When you're on the main roster, and yes, they both of them did have time in NXT to grow, and they did. Because you look at it, they had no wrestling background before they joined NXT. They did a tryout, were accepted during the Divas era, and then it became the women's era. So they have matured in the ring. And then everybody's like, oh, they haven't matured they haven't put on any good matches since. But at the same time, how do you find time in your day? And yes, you can. It's easy. But at the same time, when you're the champion, in both of their cases, when you're the champion who's doing 2 to 3 hours of media every day, hour to 2 hours of rehearsals every day, also traveling 4 to 5 days a week, maybe even for 2 months at a time, depending, especially when you're champion, on where you're going, and having to work out and stay in shape. How do you find the time to get in the ring and work out and improve? How? It's not their fault. It's writing's fault. A lot of people want to say, oh, they don't care. They just want fame. But at the same time, that may be true. But you can't say that they're not trying. Because they don't have time, is what I'm saying. I'm fully behind Alexa Bliss and Carmella. I think they could be great if, when they do drop the titles, and they don't have to do all the media, they're able to go back to the Performance Center and train. If they don't, then I'll give up on them. But you got to look at it. Alexa Bliss was completely thrusted into the title picture immediately when she was called up to SmackDown, and SmackDown needed a women's champion. She went from manager / wrestler, like Zelina Vega in NXT, to title picture.
True.
So she really had no time to mature in ring. Because also, before that, she was a straight manager. And then she had a brief stint as the cheerleader fairy, whatever it was, before she became Wesley and Blake's, manager.
Elias and Mr. What's his face?
So I mean, so she really didn't have much ring time in NXT.
But here's the thing: in NXT, they have all the ring time in the world. They don't mean ring time on TV, but they had all the ring time in the world because they're at the Performance Center constantly. So she had time to practice, and I honestly believe that Alexa Bliss can actually go out there and perform. I mean, we've seen it some in NXT before she came up, but it's just right now. I mean, just she's doing what she's doing because that's how they got her being played.
I said what I said to be able to use that soundbite that you just gave
What?
to other people to say, oh, when you said, oh, they're not divas, they can actually wrestle, and they will eventually actually wrestle, but right now they can't, because there's many people who I talk to who say, oh, they're just going to be divas forever. And I disagree, because you look at their athletic background. But anywho, you look at Baszler versus Sane. It's about time the title went off of Baszler. In my opinion,
Baszler should never get the title from the beginning anyway, because Baszler was never ready.
I do not disagree with that at all.
Baszler literally shows that she has grown each and every match. It is like, okay, that's great, but you had other women down there who were well established enough to carry that championship.
And in my opinion, the only reason Baszler got the title was because Sane was injured.
Because of who?
Kyrie was injured at the time when Baszler was crowned champion.
Okay, she fought Ember Moon for the title, and at the same time, there still were other women down there that could have carried the division.
I'm not disagreeing. I completely forgot about Ember Moon being down there at that time. Her beating Ember Moon for the title.
There could have been other people. It could have been Nikki Cross that could have won it for the title. There could have been one of the other women from the Mae Young Classic that could have won the title. But at the same time, it's just that we didn't get that because we got Shayna Baszler. And Shayna still is growing and transitioning from the MMA to wrestling. And she's doing it tremendously. Not giving her props, but she running the title at this current time right now should not have happened. It is just like it should have waited. I'm not gonna lie, it should have waited. Like she could establish herself as a dominant, evil force across the entire women's division. That's always there. She's like that one spade that continuously cuts no matter what is being played. And I understand that, but it's just like the title should not have put on her when she came down there.
I agree.
And Nikki could have held the title or anything of the sort until then. I mean, you got so many women from the Mae Young Classic that's come in that hasn't been able to wrestle or shine, or has been shining, but it's just like they're growing as well. And it's just like this whole thing with Shayna Baszler is just like I don't know if y'all about to move her or what are y'all about to do, or she's gonna stay down at NXT. But right now,
she's going to the main roster. She's going to the main roster.
I was like, I honestly,
which I think is terrible.
If she goes to the main roster, she goes to the main roster, let her go for it. But it's going to breathe a lot.
I think it's a terrible move.
And if they do it, they do it. At this point, there's nothing we can do about it. If she goes, she goes. But it's just like we're gonna see what's gonna happen tomorrow because we got Ronda Rousey competing for the Raw Women's Championship.
So talk about women in NXT, and we brought up NXT UK earlier. Why the hell has NXT UK not signed Piper Niven?
Piper Niven chose not to be signed. That's not anything to do with NXT. Piper has said it countless times on Twitter. She chose not to. That was her decision.
I haven't really looked at that.
I follow quite a few of the women from the Mae Young Classic last year. Piper has said it like she tweets like it practically every day, and it's like she said it quite a few times that it was her decision. Like she's wanted to transition through the same thing with Tony. Tony said the exact same thing. Both of them made that decision not to sign. They were both asked. They both made the decision not to sign.
That goes completely against with Tony. That goes completely against what she has said in multiple interviews.
Was saying that she didn't want the contract, or they offered her, or they didn't offer her one.
Yeah, well, most of her interviews, when it comes to WWE, she's always said, "That's the goal. That's where I want to be."
That's where she wants to be, but there has no judgment call over her saying that she wasn't offered a contract. That's where she wants to be. But you have to realize both Tony and Piper had a lot already going when they came into the Mae Young Classic, considering that both of them were dedicated heavy champions at the time.
But at the same time, if that's the ultimate goal and WWE comes calling,
I respect their game. That's okay. If WWE, if I was an established star in the Indies and had a lot going for myself currently right now at this current time with titles and things of that nature,
Tony's a part of WWE, so
I would have. I mean, WWE doesn't come knocking a lot. It does, but if they're looking at you and they want you, they're gonna come after you. But respectably enough, if you're a professional person and you establish the reason why you're not signing at this current time, but you want to sign with them, they will still come after you. They will still offer you a contract, and if you reach out to them and keep in touch, they'll give you a contract. And I respect what Piper and Tony did.
I'm telling you right now, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. As a guy who used to,
that's not how it works.
Play in those indies,
but that's how it works then. But you have to realize now that has changed, and Triple H is running NXT, and his mindset is completely changed over how people come into that brand.
I agree with that. He has changed a lot because I have talked to guys that went to that tryout with me who, and I'll tell you right now, the only reason I got that offer and I felt that physical was because I was a veteran. They wanted that veteran. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They wanted a new Bobby Lashley, where they could push, oh, we got a veteran. And, oh, he's a American hero type deal. But now they got Lacey Evans, who is, in my opinion, one of the top 5 girls on NXT. Granted, it's not a deep pool anymore.
No, that pool is quite deep. Most people don't realize it. That pool is really deep. And there's quite a few ladies that just haven't been on screen. Like, some of them have gotten married.
The women on NXT?
Yes.
It's not deep.
It's fairly deep. We don't see most of them because some of them have gotten married. Some of them have went with them to the UK brand. Some of them have just been only on live shows. Some of them are still in the performance center and haven't actually fully debuted onto the NXT roster.
Others are handling. Lacey, you got Candice, Kyrie, Bianca Belair, and Dakota Kai.
Nikki's still technically down there as well. And there's a few other ones down there.
Technically, she's still down there, but she's been traveling with SmackDown's house shows. So she's going to SmackDown here soon. She's probably getting called up on Tuesday.
I mean, but then in the same sense, that pool, like I said, of those ladies that you called out, not including Aaliyah and a few other ones, you have to remember that a lot of the ladies are still back there in the performance.
I'm really not sold on Aaliyah.
A lot of people may not be sold on them, but you have to remember that pool is still deep for them to have that. It's a one branded show. It's not like Raw or SmackDown where we have to create 2 pools of women. Like, you literally can combine the roster on the main roster. That pool is huge, just like in NXT. The pool is big, but it's just like you don't see them because they're either off doing something personal in their lives or still off in the indies handling, secondary obligations where they haven't fully committed to NXT in a whole. So, like, I don't doubt by a long shot that there's a lot of women down there, but it's going like it's going right now. Once it's about to turn a new leaf, so you'll start seeing more and more women. Like, where these women come from? They've been there. They just don't get seen because other things are going on at the current time. But
one thing I do think, and we can move on after this, is Toni Storm to NXT UK. I get, because she is a name that everybody knows in the wrestling community, and they want to put NXT UK on the map, a lot like Tyler Bate, Pete Dunne, Trent Seven, Wolfgang, and those guys. But Toni, like you said, yes, she was kind of skeptical at how she was going to be used in NXT if she would have signed after Mae Young last year. But at this point, she has proven herself as a commodity, a huge commodity. You sign her, she's under contract, call her to the main roster. She's ready.
No, Mike. No. You have to get this thought out of your mind about calling these people immediately to the main roster. It's not going to happen. Toni Storm, and I think you missed what I was saying. Toni Storm established that she was not signing an agreement because they handed her one and asked her to sign. She did not sign, not because she wasn't ready, because she had other previous obligations she was taking care of in the indies that she needed to do. The same thing with Piper Niven, the same thing. Both Dakota Kai and Toni Storm are on.
Now that they're done, and she is signed to a WWE contract. They're done. Those are done now. She is signed to a WWE contract.
What difference does that make if she's signed to a WWE contract? Main roster or not, she's not going to the main roster. She does not need to go to the main roster. I don't care how established these indie stars are or how established, let me get indie out of the way. I don't care how established these superstars are in the minor leagues, the indies, whatever you want to call them. Calling them immediately to the main roster when the WWE machine cannot properly roll the wheel in the right direction when adding these new stars, they will get lost. You will then be further up. If they sent Toni Storm to the main roster, we would then hear you back on this podcast months down the line pissed off because Toni Storm has not taken off. She has not established or gotten the time she needed or hasn't won the championship yet. I understand and I live and breathe behind some of these stars, but calling them to the main roster because she's ready is not going to happen. I understand the obligations what Toni had and she's done with them. Piper is still moving around the indies and doing the things she needs to do. Dakota Kai is most likely going to NXT UK because she was in the promo video for it. I would live and breathe to let them people get inside, let them have time to get acclimated to how WWE runs, which is the main reason why they're down there or in NXT USA or NXT UK. That gives them time to do what they need to do. But to throw them on the main roster, no. It is like, I'm one of those type of people. I protect NXT with my life, with everybody who's down there. Throwing them on the main roster, unless I can faithfully believe the WWE machine on the main roster is going to take care of them and actually mold them and roll them into the wheel and actually get them going and actually have faith into the people they have on the main roster, I can't. They don't even have faith in the people they have up there now. To throw somebody that we love, we like, and we appreciate and respect, like Toni Storm, Piper Niven, Bianca Belair, any of the other superstars and women down there in NXT, I would be terrified. Like, I'm terrified of the Dream going up there right now. Unless they really, really believe in him on the main roster, that he can come up there and do what he needs to do, and they're going to have faith and push him. I'd rather for the Dream to stay in NXT, and I know they all want to go to the main roster, and I don't doubt that. And everybody's like, oh, we got to give, the main roster time to get them in and write them in and do all these other things. You know they're coming. Write them in already before they get there. It's not hard. And y'all act like, oh, it's hard. They change decisions on a whim before the show even starts. They tell you all the time on the news webs that they're taking 3 and 4 hours to get the show started, and they'll literally rewrite the show in 3 hours. The show be written one way, and then you'll see the script for it and it's written a different way, and you're like, you rewritten the whole entire show in 3 hours just to accompany this person, one person, but you can't establish these other 20 people you got over here and write them into the show and actually make something happen. This is why you consistently fail your development organization like NXT, consistently bringing them up to the main roster, because you cannot roll them into the main roster properly without failing them. And it makes me feel for Triple H, because Triple H, Shawn, and all the rest of them down there, they put so much faith and so much work into those women and guys that they get to the main roster, and then sometimes they get up there it takes them a while before they get established. Like, you got Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and Braun Strowman and Rusev and all the rest of them. It's just kind of like, what the hell? What are y'all doing? It's just like, at this point, you are trying to constantly push these other people that we constantly see all the time. They've established themselves. They've done multitude of different things. Multi-time champion when they really shouldn't even be multi-time champion yet. But it's just kind of like we're just sitting here twiddling our damn thumbs waiting on you to do something with this one character when we keep seeing Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns at fucking main event at every damn pay-per-view, when we really tired of seeing either one of them, and really hope that somebody comes and beats the hell out of both of them and just takes the Universal Championship and claims it as their own, and neither one of them end up as a champ. That's my hopeful wish in my brain, but that's neither here or there. I love you, truth be told, but Toni Storm to the main roster, no. I fear for you that if she gets to the main roster, they're gonna shit on her immediately, and she's not gonna get anywhere near that championship anytime soon. And by the time they get attached to Toni, they're just gonna be like, all right, well, Toni's gonna win the championship, and then the next night she loses it to somebody else, and you'll be like, what the fuck? Just say.
No, I see what you're saying. I really do. I'm just saying that she's ready. I'm not saying call her. Yes, I did say call her up. And what I'm saying is she's ready. But I agree with what you're saying, because you look at how they're treating Bayley, how they're treating Sasha Banks, how they're treating Becky Lynch. I mean, you're talking about the women who, I won't say started the revolution, but really they didn't start it, but they kickstarted it to the forefront, is what I'm trying to say. I mean, you look back at Becky, Charlotte, and Sasha at WrestleMania 33, or was it 32? Either way, you look at that triple threat match. They stole the show when the women's championship was first introduced. Mm-hmm. That match was amazing. And it was the first time that people actually really said, oh my God, the women can actually wrestle too. They're not just pretty faces. But what I'm saying is, the fact that you got talents like Candice LeRae, you got talents like Toni Storm, Bianca Belair, and it can go down the list, and it's not even, I don't have time to go down the list, you know what I mean? But to not showcase them is almost criminal.
It's almost criminal, but we do have to realize that there has been personal ongoings with some of the people you've named. Bianca hasn't been there because she got married, and she's been gone for quite a while. She just got back. Candice has been, she was off-putted at first before she actually signed, and then she signed. She's been back there training and whatnot and getting everything established. So it's taking time. So I understand, the transition that they're having to be made right now with Kari now being, the NXT Women's Champion, and now having to deal with Shayna as well. But now it's time to get the ball rolling, and that's what they've been doing. At least keeping the spotlight open with Lacey, but it's just still
my girl Lacey
before we actually
my sister Lacey
before we get more time with them seen on TV. Like I said, a lot of personal stuff has been going on with a lot of the women in the division, so that's the reason why we haven't seen all of them in. That's why I said the pool is big.
But do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying about the whole women's division? Like they're being put down.
You talking about NXT and second? You talking about second tier in NXT? There are some of the most.
No, I'm talking about as a whole. I'm talking about as a whole in WWE.
But in WWE, yes, they've always been second tier.
NXT is a part of WWE. They're being put down as a second tier, and yes, they're getting their own pay-per-view finally. But they're at the same time, you got people like Apollo Crews and Titus O'Neil versus nobody, and then you got Bludgeon Brothers burying people in a 5-minute spot when that can go to the women.
But you have to remember that the women have.
If you want to push the women like they're trying to do, you have to give them TV time instead of one match a night.
I mean, and that's very much true. But you have to remember the main roster and NXT are completely different things, and it's like when they're doing it, they have to. I mean, just go by what they have to establish at that time. When it's time, NXT does it well, being able to establish the women like they need to. Because I've seen one show where it was more women on more women's matches than it was guys wrestling. But the main roster,
I don't disagree. Triple H is a great booker.
But I mean, we got to wrap this up pretty soon because we got like 5 minutes ago. But on the main roster,
all right, let's go to Gargano versus Ciampa.
But to finish this out, the women on the main roster have always been second, regardless. The Divas, women's, the whole nine. During the Divas, before the Divas, they had time because they really believed in them because of what was going on and how the brand was being established. Now they're trying to reestablish it all over again. So it's going to take them time. But I understand where you're coming from. I would love to see them go out there and shine a whole lot more. But we have to then fight around all the BS storylines that they got running around when we can actually see some of these women get out there and handle business like we know they can. But to segue into the final match of the evening, I'm going to make this quick and I'm going to make this short, not because we run out of time,
I will too.
But because the simple fact it's these two. This storyline has written itself. It is well established. It has been fine-tuned to a T. The man, the head honcho down there, Triple H, has fine-tuned it. He does not let this storyline go without him looking at it to a T. It goes off without a hitch every single time. Complete 5 stars between these two every time they go out there and they brawl, because the storyline has been running for practically almost 2 whole years, and they are making it happen little by little. And I feel like
I give it 3.
I feel like in the transitioning of the whole entire aspect, it's slowly, I feel like they're going to end up slowly back together again. Only at the simple aspect is now that Ciampa has become the Black Heart, and then Johnny Gargano is the Rebel Heart. But you look at the logo now, it's kind of transitioning into that direction of being, on that
ultimate Vince move,
and it's just
the ultimate Vince move.
But it's transitioning them back into that evil aspect to turn them back onto the main roster. But I feel like it's going to be a good thing, because it's like, still be friends and establish that they don't like each other, but at the same time, but they don't like everybody else either, so they'll team up together to defeat everybody. They've done this storyline quite well to see Ciampa as the champion currently right now, breathes life into seeing so many other people in that aspect, to see that, hey, just because you're the size of Ciampa or the size of Gargano don't mean you can't go out there and be, a heavyweight champion. That leads back into people like Rey Mysterio, who's become, heavyweight champion at a small stature. And people like Tyler Bate, 5'7", 175 pounds, has established that he was a UK champion. So you have to look at it, just because they're small don't mean you can't be champion. But looking at these two, they've done it and continue to go out there and literally steal the show and destroy everything in their path as they're doing it. But I can't do nothing but give them just a literal hand clap for the things that they do between Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. So I say congratulations to the both of them. Keep doing what you're doing, because it is working, and people live and breathe by it with anticipation every time that y'all two lock up in the middle of a ring. When that bell rings and them two on the opposite sides, it's go time. We know that. It's established. It's go time. When you see them two in the ring, that's what's about to happen. Plain and simple.
My take on it is it was a 3-star match, and this is why. One, we've seen all those spots before. It was good. Don't get me wrong. Very solid end of the match, end of the pay-per-view. But the issue was, once again, we've seen the match before. All the spots we've seen. I mean, we've seen them rip up the entirety of the mat, the canvas, expose the wood, DDT to the same person instead of Gargano. It was Ciampa eating the wood again. Ciampa being handcuffed again. And then the ending? Are you serious? They want to say it was an injury? No. Or a dislocated knee? No. I watched that replay. I've seen it. I'm an EMT, paramedic. I've seen it. That wasn't a dislocated knee. That was just a bad bruise on his knee. The ending was terrible. The ending of the pay-per-view was great with them setting Gargano on the ramp, but the sad part is they set up another match between these two.
But haven't they been the same thing? I mean, but there's a fine-tuned storyline that has worked.
But at the same time, yes, it's working. But at the same time, when is enough?
It's never enough. Have you not realized that? This is the WWE we talking about. We're talking about, if we just take WWE out of it, we're talking about professional wrestling.
I don't want to see Brock at this point. Gargano versus Ciampa is Brock versus Roman.
Ooh,
we've seen it multiple times.
We've seen it multiple times, but in the same aspect, we can enjoy Gargano versus Ciampa over
both of them
Brock versus Roman.
They deliver. They deliver great matches every time they face each other. But at the same time, it's time to move on with Ciampa as NXT champion and move Gargano up to Raw as Raw's version of Daniel Bryan.
That's a strong possibility, but we'll see. But we'll have more talk, more discussion on tomorrow as we get ready for the WWE SummerSlam, as we dissect and prepare and predict what may go down, what may not go down. As what we saw here tonight, there's a possibility there was going to be a lot of retention in the titles, but we had two titles change hands here tonight. Kari Sane, the new NXT Women's Champion, and we have Ricochet as the new North American Champion. I guarantee you there's definitely some exclusive interviews that's setting up some rivalries as we speak. But ladies and gentlemen, yours truly, Soup, and my special guest, Mike, are heading out here for the night. Y'all have yourselves a good night, and thank you for being here.
Good night, everybody.